This is our display right here. Looks pretty good for the MPC Studio. Now, first thing you need to do is to set up your contrast. Now to do this, you're going to hold down Shift and you're going to turn the data wheel. And you can get the contrast that works best for you. And you got to hold it down and sort of get the right view. So right now I'm just going to turn it around here and get the best view right there. Now once you do, you're good to go. Now to get around the screen, you can use your cursor up and down, left and right. So I can go up, I can go to right, I can go left. And once you get there, you can use your data entry. Left and right, we have our minus and our plus key. And we can also use the data wheel to change the parameters. Like for example, I can change that track to track 2. Now you notice when I do change the tracks that you'll see them change here in this little diagram right here, next to loop on. Let's go to the next track. So you keep going to these tracks, you'll notice that it changes here. Also have instrument. Could be MIDI or plugin. Now this is the main window that you're going to see when you select main, which is to the left of your data wheel. Now here we have sequence. We have sequence, the name of the sequence, which you can also name as well. Then we have the length in terms of bars, the tempo right here, the BPM. You can change that, of course, with data wheel or your plus or minus data buttons. Here we've got the bars, so how long that sequence is. And of course, loop on. So if loop is on, that means it'll play to the beginning and then loop again. But once it gets to the end, if loop is off, it'll just stop. It's our track. And here's our kit, our program. So we're using a groover kit right here, as you can see. And this is velocity volume right there. Now right here on the bottom of the screen, we have several different choices. This is TC for time correction. This is for a click track. This is for minus a track, plus a track. We can mute tracks and we can solo tracks. And we can access the status simple pressing the F1 here for that TC, which is timing correction, and you can see it here. Time division, swing value, strength, events, shift timing, and plus we also have this window. We'll explain more later on. Just want to give you a good overview. And we can press close, or for example, I can go to here. I might want to change this here from 16ths to 1/8 or quarters, or 1/8 notes, and I can press do it. We'll press do it, and we know we're at 16th notes. Click track. Now here, we can set a count off. So this means before we start playing, I can go here to play and record and press the play start button. We get the metronome. Then the beat starts. If I was going to record, it'll do the same thing. It'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and this in terms of quarter notes. I can also change that. I'll go to here, and I'll go to 1/8 notes. And now I press play. Start. See that? Now I go back down to here. And I really want to be at quarter notes. And press play start. 3, 4. Now this is metronome play. So this is just a counting. But you can also have the metronome play at the same time while you're recording or just listening back. And you can have it set there. Now to get rid of that, of course, we move the cursor there, go to my data wheel and turn it off. And we can also select the sound we want to use. Like here is the classic MPC click. We can also use a shaker, a side stick, 2, tambourine, with a metronome, with a clap. So just choose what you think is going to work best for you. And of course, I like to use the MPC classic sound, so we'll close that out. Now, this is pretty simple right here. This is just minus a track and plus a track. If I got a track I don't like, I can get rid of it. I can add a new track to the sequence. I can also mute a track. So for example, I'll play this pattern. Back at the top, as I mentioned, lets us back into the sequence. I can just go to mute. And as you can see here, this is track 1. I can unmute it right now. I've had more than 1 or 2 tracks. I can also solo this track. This track is selected here in track for the view. I can press solo and that track would be soloed. Now as you press the various buttons in the system, you're always going to have some choice down here, and it will correspond to any one of these F buttons. Now here we got our pad bank section here, and so we've got A, see it's a red light, we got B, C, and D. And you notice on the software too as well, it's accessing each one of those banks. Now right below the pad bank, it's a little orange notation, so it's E, F, G, and H. Now in order to access those banks, we've got to hold down the shift key. And our shift key is right here. Then I'll hit the A bank, and now it becomes E. You notice on the software, now it went to E on the software. And also, you'll see the light right above that A there. It's not red, it's amber now. So, go to B, B becomes F, C becomes G, and D becomes H. Right next to these 4 pad bank buttons, we have the pad assign button. And I'll press it here, and notice it turns red. And what happens here is the pad assign button helps you to set the display up, so you have the ability to assign samples to any pad. So I can hit a pad and assign a sample to it. Now it has a second function as well too, and that function is to copy pad data. So for example, I would hold the shift key down and then hit the pad assign button, and now I can copy data from one pad to another. Here's our main screen, and I'm going to press pad assign now. And now we can see the matrix here for our pad bank. You'll notice that if I move the cursor, you can see the names of each one of the sounds that correspond to each pad. Move the cursor up, and we're in the program. Now in order to change the program, we just turn our data wheel, or we can go plus or minus with the data buttons, which you'll see here. I'm going to hard soul, now we're going to head crack, hard soul, and back again to this program. Now we'll go back down. I'm going to hit a pad too. Hit a pad, and that pad's there. So now, we want to assign a pad to a different sample. So, got this here, turn the data wheel, new sample, plus button, new sample, minus, back down, got a sample right there. That's pretty cool. Now, suppose you want to copy data. Okay, you got this dope beat you're making up, and you want to copy these 2 hi-hats to 2 separate pads to make one a flange and one a regular. So, I would just press shift, then we're going to press that pad assign, and now we see this. Now, as you see what it says there, it's pretty simple. It's copy pad, then it says from pad. So, I say that pad, A15. 2 pad, this pad right here. See that? We can't see it happening, so we got to go down. So you can't do it by just hitting it. Notice that. So you have hit the pad here, and you move your cursor down to 2 pad. Then you want to get that pad. So I can hit it, and now it's there. Now once it recognizes that you have these 2 different pads, and you want to do it, just press do it. And now they're both the same sound. Right below pad bank A button, we got the full level button. Now it's a double button as usual. You can hold the shift key down and it becomes half level. That's cool. So watch. I'll hit a pad. I'm hitting it real light now. Just tapping it, you know. If you want to go full level, hit that button. It goes red. No matter how hard I hit it, it's going to give me a full level. I hold down shift. I hit this button again. Now, no matter what I do, it's going to give me that half level. And you can see that. So if I hit it, you'll notice that the background light underneath will only go up to an amber. Now if I go back, shift button, hit this full level button again, now you see it go to red. And that's how you can tell whether you're at full level or half level. Okay, the next button we got here is the 16 level button, right? I can hit that button, and now you see we got the 16 level assign parameter here. So look, what we can do next is we can assign the 16 levels to any pad. I can hit a pad, that pad right there, and you see the type already. We've got tuning. Let's see them all. We got decay, we got attack, layer, filter, tuning, velocity. Let's try tuning. Now you can see here it says the original pad will be pad 4. So pad 4 will have that original sound. The rest of them will be tuned, maybe just a semitone above or below that pad. So we're going to go here and we're going to press do it. And now you can hear it. We're going right down this row here. And you can hear the tuning has changed. So it's pretty easy. Step sequence. Here it is right here. Step sequence, pad mode. Now, we're in step sequence. And what happens here is that I've got a sequence. I want to put my parts at a specific spot. I know where they go, or I want to test where they go, see how they sound. And I want to hit a certain velocity. Now, watch this. I'm going to hit this pad number 16, and you notice now it's in the software. I'm going to hit pad number 15, and that's there too. I'm going to do 14, just tap it lightly. See, the color changed, showing that it's not that strong a velocity. You can also see the velocities in the software as well. I hit here, that's another velocity. So I can press play. Let the sequence play out. And you heard it, right there, here it comes again. And that's what these represent. Now, what you have to do before you actually hit the step sequence, you're going to pick a sound out. And then you hit step sequence again. Then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to put it right here, 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 here. Then I press play, start. And I wait to hear where it's at, how it sounds. So you get the idea. You can take one out, I want to hear this, or hear it like that. Here's an overall view of step sequence. So I have here step sequence. Before I press that though, I want to find the right sound. So I pick the sound there and say, I go here to step sequence, I go on, and now these pads all represent parts I could use for that one sound, as you can see right there. So this is set up for 16th notes, as you can see. So I can just go in here and make a pattern up. Press play from the top. And do the same thing on next bar. And you can just put your sequences in. And you can also maybe tap a little harder on one. Once you hit it again, it's off. And you can hit it harder, it comes back on. You hit it soft, hit it harder, it's back on again. And it changes color. And you can also see that here in the bottom here with velocities. I can even change the velocity by hand. And then you'll see that that part, that event there will change the same color. Now, sometimes I'm doing a song and I want to test out sequences. And so to do that, we've got a button here called Next Sequence. And I can play a sequence and then pick the next sequence I want to play. And you'll see here from the monitor, from the view and display, that we've got one blinking here. And if I press play, it's going to start playing back that sequence. Then I'll hit a sequence I want to hear next. This one here is now blinking. That just played. Pretty simple, right? So you got a sequence that blinks, like that one. That's the one that's going to play next. I hit this one, that'll play next. I go to here, that's going to play next, and then after it starts playing, I can pick the next sequence. Now this button right here is called track mute, and it's better I just show you rather than explain. I'll press track mute. I'm going to play back a little project, little film thing. As you can see from that demonstration, after I pressed track mute, the software screen changed to track mute screen. And you can see that there. And it corresponds to the tracks in that sequence. So for example, here we have bank A, B, C, and D. So this would be 16 in A, another 16 in B, then C and D. A total of 64 different tracks per sequence. So currently I only had approximately 15 tracks playing at the same time. Now once you select the button here, you can turn tracks on and off. So the red ones, where it's red underneath the pad, indicate that track is off. And amber, it's on. Once you press track mute, you're going to see this display here. And if I hit this pad, that's off. I'll hit play start, and I'll put some items in. And you saw that. As I hit the pad, they come right in. I'll do it again here. Hit the pad. It stops. Now, this is based on track group. Okay? Now here we have time division. Now this means that it's based on the division of units of time, obviously. If I click right here, I have to have a note value. So here, for example, I'm going to make this like really long. I'll make it like 1 bar. So if I hit it, before that bar comes in, it waits till the next bar before it puts that part in track mute. So I'll close the window. I'll play it again for the top. Hit this button here. Now it's blinking. Then it comes in. If I stop that, it blinks. Then it comes in. Then that comes in. Now, if I want a solo, I can go to solo here, press solo, press the sound, and now that sound is soloed. My next sound I press is soloed as well. This sound is soloed. To stop that, I press solo. I can press on the pad, and I'm back out. Now also, we have time correction. So in case you want to make sure you come at the right time and correction value, to make sure that's right, you can go to main screen. We go to time and correction, and we can see the time and correction for that sequence, which is 16th notes. I'll press main screen again, and I go back to pressing track mute, and we're back here. So when I'm doing time and correction, everything I hit will fall in time according to the time correction value. Now the track mute button has 2 functions. As a track mute and as a pad mute. So I could just press shift, press track mute, and now it's a pad mute. You can see it's turned amber right there. And now the pads are lit. And you can see some pads are red and some pads are amber. So of course, as always, the red pads are off and the amber pads are on. Okay. This is all based on a particular group that you have. Now for example, I've got this one track here, I'll play it back. I'll hit pads and turn some of these sounds off. turn them on, turn them back off. And this is all based on the group. So in this particular group here, I'm going to press main, I go back to my main group. What's going on here in this group is that, as you can see here on the software, all these pads belong to this one group. They're all on one track. See, this is the track here. That's track 1. And if I go to track number 2, which is off, you obviously can see in the software, nothing's there. So the entire track, all the events happen on this one track. It's not the ability to say, okay, look, I'm on this track. I can just press play, and I'll press shift and track mute, which also doubles as track pad, and now it becomes track pad mute. So for this track, I can mute the pads that belong to this particular group. In this case, this group is right here in this program called Funkadelic, as you can see right there. Before we can start a session, we need to have like samples, drum kits, drum sounds, loops, bass lines, even keyboards. In order to do this, we've got to search our browser. So this whole software, this new idea on the MPC Renaissance and the MPC Studio is based off this new software they designed. And this software has a browser, as you can see here on the left-hand side. And here we've got several ways to get to it and for us to filter down from programs to sequences to samples, and then no filter. We can see everything. And to make it much more easy, I'll explain it here to you. For example, here we can have locations. I can have saved locations of files I may want to use. Like, for example, this first location here, as you can see here, I have drum groups, drum kits, and Legacy MPC, which are older MPC items. Let's click on that first. And here you notice we have the MPC 2000 and the 2000 XL, the MPC 2500, MPC 3000, the MPC 500, 5000, and the MPC 60. So each one of these folders has files for those different machines. So I can click on this and we see nothing because there's no projects. Now, here on the MPC Studio hardware, you can see we have the data section. We have projects, sequences, programs, and we have samples, and of course, no filter. So if I press sequences, now we see the sequences that are for that MPC. We can also press program, and we'll see the programs that are on there. When I press sample, we can see the samples that are on there. Now if I want to go one level back up, I have this arrow here, and I can go up to the next directory, or the parent directory. I go here, and that directory is the MPC 2000 XL. I go here again, up to the next parent directory, and we're here in Legacy MPCs. Now, if you're not sure what you're doing sometimes in the browser, you can get lost and not know where you're going. So it's always important to sort of like use these top folder buttons you see right here. Here's 1, 2, 3, here's 4, and then there's 5. And I sort of like set them up for certain sounds or effects or categories I'm looking for during a session I may use. And particularly my own samples that I have, besides the ones that come with the MPC software. So for example, here we are, this says drum content. And if I go up a level, and I'd say I go here, you're totally lost here. You get inside here, you don't know where you are. So you can click right here, you can go back, you say, okay, I want to go back to MPC factory content, and then you're back there again. And so it's important to know where you are on the hard drive. So here, this little window here will help you search that area out. And you can get to where you want to be. We're looking for MPC documents or your MPC factory content. And it depends on what software you're using and what PC. We're using a PC or using a Mac. Now here I'm using a Mac, so I can find my stuff through my documents. And also on a PC, you may put your stuff in your My Documents folder as well too. So here you can see I have content, and I click through here, I can see my groups, I can see the kits. Now it's important to make sure that you know where you're going. If you're looking for projects, select projects. If you're looking for sequences, select sequences. And the best way to get around generally is to go no filter. This way, no filter, you're going to see everything that's in that folder. For example, right here, I can see all the samples. And this folder has many but samples. But if you look closer, you'll see here we have programs too. Now, to the right of each one of these files, you'll see the size of that file, whether it's a program, which is marked XPM, or if it's a sound file, which is marked WAV for wave. You can see the size of these folders right here, these sounds in the folder. Now, if you're like me, you may be an MPC guy, you may have samples you've had over the years. I've had a lot of samples I've taken on many MPCs, from the first MPC I have for the MPC 60 up to the 5000. So I keep a huge library, ridiculous libraries. You already know, you see them on the website. And so I've got some stuff here, as you can see here, and that's where this location is at here, where it says folder number 2. This is the files I want to browse here, and I can go back in here, for example, and pull up some older MPC sounds right there. If I'm trying to find something, I would go here, of course, and I'd say what where it's going to be at. It could be desktop. I might go to the hard drive, where I can go here, search for it, or it could be in the desktop, it could be in my documents folder. You just need to know where your content's at, and you can find it. And then I suggest you put them right here so you know where they are during the session. Make sure you save, and then when you pull it back up, when the software reloads, those locations will be there in your file browser. I go to this location here, number 2, and now I see a bunch of folders here. And I have sample selected here. As you can see right there, it's sample selected. And I want to open up one of these things. Let me open this up. Let me go to this electric piano here, this E_PF. And I'll double click in here. Now, I click on these sounds, you really can't hear them, right? So at the bottom of this left-hand side, underneath this file browser, we've got this auto preview right there. And I can click on that, and then I could click here for that little speaker icon. And I can hear and preview sounds before I select them and drag them into the main software menu. I can just click on the sound. I can also use my up and down arrows on the keyboard and audition each sound as it goes by. Now sometimes, you're doing a lot of work and you got this big project you're working on and say, well, what am I going to do next? I don't need the browser. I need to have a bigger view. So here in the bottom, next to the AKAI Professional logo, you can click here and you can hide the browser. And then the software expands out better, giving you a better viewing area to work from. Now right here on the edge, right next to the size of each item that's in the browser, we can scroll up and down right here in the window for the browser. And once you select the file, you'll see the name appear right down here. And you can also search the files that way too. Now also, right here on the hardware, if you want to do a search and you want to press browser on the hardware, it's right here next to our data wheel. Select that, and then we get the browser menu on our display on the hardware. Now I'm going to use the browser from the hardware. So for example, here I've got a brand new sequence selected, which is number 10 right that you can see. And I can move my cursor up and down to get there, turn my data wheel to select the new sequence. But I'm going to press the browser button. And now you can see the browser right there for the hardware. Now it's a little different, of course. You can see we can select the folders right there. You can see here. I can go down or up. And I can hit my right arrow and I go into the folder. I can scroll down to what was inside that folder. I can go down one more directory, and here I can see the samples. Now obviously the data selection on the hardware is for samples. And you see I hit that down button, and we heard back that WAV file. And that's because F button number 2 is depressed, and it's giving us this auto play. Now if I press that again, and I select the next sample down, we hear nothing at all. So here on the hardware, our preview button's right here by pressing the F key number 2. If I have a sound I like, I can just select load. Of course, I'm in here in this folder, and I'm on my hardware accessing data. As you can see, as I do it on the hardware. It happens on the software. And here you can see I'm in the MPC full collection kit, right? And you can see that same information right here on the software, right there. So I'm at the AKAI Volume 1. So I can press my right arrow cursor button. And I have a choice here of two folders. I have this Drum Volume 1 and this program files. Now it's important to know what's in your folders too. So you also need to be aware of what you have selected for your data selected entry. So right here, under my data select entry here, I've got sample. And I prefer to go to no filter. This way I can see whether it's a project, a sequence file, a program, or a sample file. Doesn't matter what it is. No filter will let me see what's in that folder. So I press the right arrow again, and I can see I've got some folders in there. So I press it again, and here we got a bunch of samples. So I press the left arrow to go back, and now I'm back here in the folder, and I'm going down to Programs, and I can go here to Programs. See? I can select the program and load it. So let's move the cursor down here and view what programs are on the MPC. And in this kit here, I can pull this up here and say I want to load this. And I say I want to load that up. And I press load, and it loads it in. Now I've loaded that kit in, which says 621 Mix 1 Dry Program. That's PGM for program. Now, PGM is the program extension used in older MPC versions of, let's say, the MPC 60 and the 3000. And here in the software, when you make up your own program now, it's going to be an XP. And so here, let's go back to here, and we're going to go back up here in the software. I'll go down one here to content. Here we go. And you'll notice here, I'll go to here that says drum kits. And it's XPM. So remember that. Particularly when you're trying to find stuff on your machine. Now, I'm back here on the hardware. And one thing you'll notice too, I'm going to go press main, is that I loaded up this kit. I'm with the cursor down here where it says program. The kit's loaded. So I should be able to hit a pad and get something, right? You won't. Because that folder only had programs. So it's important to realize that if you're going to load in a kit and it's a program, the program's got to be in the same folder as the samples that belong to that program. Otherwise, you're going to see what happened just there. I only loaded in the program and not the samples. As you can see from our file browser, we're on the drum kits. I can open up, I can press my right arrow or double click here, and you can see here with no filter we can see what we have. And we've got sequences, we've got programs, we've got WAV files. And this is important to realize when you are searching and using your file browser. It's generally really better to have it to no filter unless you actually know a certain folder only has samples you're trying to find. This way you can see everything that's inside the folder you're trying to look through. And you can say, well, what's here? What's not here? And you can say, okay, I know it's here. So, here, for example, if I want to load a kit up, it's pretty simple now. I can see what I've got. I can scroll down, and I'll find this kit here called Acoustica Kit. And you can see it's a .xpm file. And then to load it, I'll press the load button, F6 here, and now it's loaded. I'll go back to main, and I'll find it here. There it is. I'm hitting the pads there. That's a cool sound. I like that one. That's kind of hot. Whoa. Anyway, I'm hitting those pads there, and you can see that the sound's loaded and the program loaded, because you see the program name right there as well. So, as I said before, make sure everything's together. So any way you can find it. So look, you're going to notice here we've got this Acoustica kit. And of course the cursor's there. And you'll notice also on the hardware there's this window button, which is right next to the plus sign in the data section right there. And it'll light up now and then. And when it does light up, it's telling you that there's something underneath. There's a window underneath this parameter I can open up to edit or to view something. So I'll press the window button here, and you can see here I can edit the current program. This means I can, you can see, delete it or copy it. So the choices are right there on the bottom of the screen. Or I can close the window. Now I can move the cursor up again where it says track, the window button's still open. I'll click here, I can edit the current track. I can clear it, copy, or close. I'll press close. So be aware, now I'll go right here, it says BPM, the window button does not light. I go to bars, nothing. I go to loop, I got a window button. I click here, loop measures. First bar, last bar, number of bars. So it's telling me what I want to do and what I can do. So look, be aware of that, because sometimes you're just going to use the hardware. You need to know how to get around and know what's happening here. But as I always said before, I prefer to use the software because you can get through a lot more stuff and move much, much faster. Now, if you're like me, sometimes you're sitting around, you're in a studio all day working for a project for an artist or something, or doing your own project, and you may have loaded in a lot of samples in, just looking through stuff, trying to find out, well, where is this at? I'm going to try this, try that. I know what I'm going to do with this. And you may load a lot of programs in. So here in this new MPC software, you got the ability to load in a lot of programs. And you can see them right here under project information. So the entire project is called here Doc Demo. This is a demo here for the purpose of this video. And you can see here, one side of it says program. The other side says samples. And of course, you can scroll down here, the little scroll bar right here, and we can see how many programs we have running. And then here, we can see how many samples we have here. And I've got tons of them uploaded in here. So I can scroll down here, and you can see all the samples that are here. And this is our project information section here in the software. Now next to that here, we have our sequence. So I have a brand new sequence, obviously. We have loop on. We have the first bar, last bar, so it's a 2-bar sequence, total 2 bars. We have timing correction here. I can click here. We have a drop-down menu, and this will explain what the note value is currently. So right here, for example, you'll see I have 16th notes. I can select 32nd notes, and a check mark will appear to the left of that. It's pretty simple. And below here, we can see the track. Track 1. We have a velocity setting. This is the velocity of, let me hit it, the louder it gets. And here we have the status of that track, whether it's in mute or it's soloed. And here it's an MPC instrument track. I have a couple of choices here. I can have MIDI information or a plugin, which we'll cover later on. And below here we see the kit we loaded already, which is the Acoustica kit. Now here, as you can see right here, these are the pads, a little interface for us to see these are the pads. And right above it, we see our banks. So bank A through H. Now here I'm going to click on bank B. And let's say you want to add some samples in. You can actually just take a sample. I'll grab this bass here and drag it in to this pad. The pad gets highlighted. It loads it right to that pad. It's pad 13. I hit the pad and it plays. God, that's deep. That's a pretty deep bass, right? And I can also do the same thing here from the project info list. I can look for a sound here. I'll grab this shaker and I'll grab it and put it right there and play that. So you have 2 ways we can actually pull in samples from the browser directly or also from our project information list. Okay, I got all these samples. I put this on the pad here, that pad there, arrange them out where I want them at, and then I want to make a beat up. But before I do that, I want to like save this stuff. You know, I got everything locked in here. I spent a little time doing it. I mean, hey, we got to save this. So, first of all, you see it says Instrument MPC. We saw that. Below that, it says Program. If I put a bunch of sounds there and I'm making a kit up myself, I will click here with the words there. Normally it'll say Untitled, but currently I've got a kit there already. I named it already. I would go right here and just name it. You click right there, you put the name in, you got a name for that program. Okay, that program corresponds to the location of these samples on the selected pads. Okay, now, let's click here. Now, if you want to look at other programs, you can click on this triangle right here, and you get a list of the available programs you can select to put in there. But if I want to save it, I'm going to click right next to it. I'm going to right-click here and have a choice. I can save or delete. If I press save, I get this window here. And it says, well, look, where do you want to save it at? So it says, save program. Please select the destination file. Okay. So I want to find a folder to save it in, obviously. Because this is a program, as you can see, which is going to be in .xpm. So we're going to save it somewhere. This says docs demo. I can save it right there. Or I can go here, move up to the next parent directory. If I like it and I want to save it, I can. Or I can go here, see right there, lower left-hand side, we can save in a new folder. Or I can just cancel it or save it. So I'll cancel right now. And now we know where we can save and how to save. Or if you don't want it, forget it, we just delete it. We're almost ready now. We know where the samples are, the programs are, put them together. We can make a sequence up. We know how long the sequence can be. We can loop it up. We got track, and we got the program and save and everything else. And the pads and the banks. Okay, that's enough. Now it's time to make up a beat. Before we go any further, we must know the tempo. That's right, the pace. How fast or how slow we're going to go. It's important. We need to know. So in order to do it, first of all, we got to know where the metronome's at. Now, I told you before, it's right over here. We got this count in. And sometimes you want to count in on play or record or turn it off. And so I prefer to have a count in. Let's go back to count and go to play so we just hear it for now. And we select our metronome here. As you can see, I'm going to do it on play and record. Let's do it on play for now. And we select our rate. Now, I'll press play. That's pretty fast right there, right? I'll press stop. Now, on our controller here, I can tap a tempo in. I can say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that. Well, I got it. So I tap a tempo in. The hardware remembers it. It tells the software, yo, this is what he did. Bam, we're in. Well, actually, the software just hears the hardware, and the software calculates it. Now, once I get the right tempo I like, it's about time to record. But we must understand what these buttons do. Now, here on the software, you can see here in the bottom, we've got this play start. I can play from the start of a sequence. Let's go here. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to find a sequence with something on it. Let's go to something very simple here, this beat number 2. I select that sequence. I press play start. I'll press stop. As you heard there, we had a 4-beat count in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the sequence started to play. That's our counting. As you can see right there. We have a counting for record and play currently selected. Now, play means I can play from where I'm at. You can see here in the software, this playback head right here, this white line. If I press play now, see that? It went back to the nearest bar, the nearest beat in this bar. So it stopped here after it passed 3. I'm going to press play. It goes back to 3. Now it's playing right through the whole sequence. See that? I'll press stop. Now we have overdub as well. Now here in overdub, I can add on to it. Like I can press overdub and press play. I can add on from where I'm at, or press overdub and start, and I can add on to that track from the start. And if I set to record and play, it's going to record over everything in that track. Like for example, I'll press record now, and now record is blinking. And you notice play is blinking too. I'll press play start. It's erasing stuff. Stop it. I don't want it to do that. We got a mistake, right? So I want to undo. And of course, this lesson's about undo. We have an undo button right here next to the right cursor. I'll select that. And as you can see what just happened, it undid everything. So the data I had there before is back. I can go back to play start. And it plays again. And it's that simple. Now I'm going to go back to sequence number 10. Now you see the other sequences say unused. The reason why this says 10, because I tapped the tempo out. Once I tapped the tempo out, it gave me the BPM, and now it's being prepared, so it says, okay, this is now going to be sequence 10, we have a BPM, let's get ready. And the BPM's right here. And what I want to do next is I want to set the time correction value. Now what this means is that it quantizes. I want to make sure that it's not set to off. At off, when I play something, it's going to sound like it's not really locked in. I have to be exact. I have to play it perfect, every part. If I don't, it's going to sound a little, too human. And sometimes you do want human, but we do also want to make sure that it sounds as though it's correct. And to sort of quantify for that and to change it sometimes, we can change our swing value. Let's not go too far. Right now I'm going to make this 16. Now right here it says 16 for timing correction. Right here also at the top of the software you see it says time correction. It says 16 here, and we have the swing value as well in the bars, and of course the track. Make sure I've got my metronome going on while it's in record, and I want to make sure I have this count in only for record. That's the count in right there. So count in and the metronome right there, and I got my rate to quarter notes. And the sound is selected also as well, the MPC click. So I'll press record and make sure I'm on that first track and press play start. You see, it quantized it different than the way I played it. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about timing correction. So here, if let's say I went to 30-second notes, and I tried the same pattern. So I'll press undo. Undo that, press record and play start. Now that's a little too much for it to do. And you can see the subdivision by the lines, the vertical lines you see in this grid. Those red dots are. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to try maybe 60 note triplets. And now it's changed a little bit here in the grid, right? So let's undo again, and I'll try it again. Okay, that's just about right. And see, it depends on what your time correction is to get this speed and the beat to fall in place. Now, if I did this without this timing correction, I went to off, it wouldn't sound so hot. I might do it right now. I'll press this, off. I have that real human feel going on. I'll press record and play start. You can see it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. So we use timing correction to help us get it right in line to where we want to have that beat at. So I'll press undo, press record and play, and make a simple beat up. I pretty simple beat right there. Now if I want to add some hi-hats, I can now. And as you can see, once I went to record and I went through one time, it's now in overdub mode. And you see it right here, it's overdub. So now I'm going to press the overdub button on the hardware and see it's off. I can find my next instrument. I'll press overdub again. Now I'm putting that in there. I can press overdub again. Another one. Got another hi-hat in there. I'll press stop. What I can also do, I can do note repeat. Timing correction is very important when making up patterns of beats or just about anything when you're working in the MPC software, or any software for that matter, or even on just an MPC. And here in the software we have a time correct. We can apply it and we can set our settings up as well. So here I pull the time correction dialog box up here, and you can see here we have time division. As you saw from the drop down menu, we have a swing value, we have a window here, we have the strength, we have our shift timing, and we have all events. I can do all events or selected events or range. So what this does, I can set up the values here of the time correction. And then once I do, I can say do it, it'll do it to that area. I can say all, selected or range, and it'll apply the swing value, the shifting of the timing, and the strength and the window. Now it's important to understand this if you're going to do a lot of, let's say, club or even doing music where you require the movement of these events, like when doing film or just doing some orchestral movements, which not many of you guys are doing. But it's important to understand how to apply time correction. And once you've got this set up properly, you can go right here where it says time correction and apply. Got a pattern right here. Of course, I got a pattern. And sometimes you want to have this consistent hi-hat that plays at maybe 8th notes or 16th notes. And of course, we've got a note repeat button, which is on every drum machine, every program. And here's note repeat right there. I can hold down note repeat and select the sound here. And let's say I want to do 8th notes. And I go to here, and I'm playing a hi-hat at 8th note pattern. I can go to here and press F3 and hit this pad, and now I'm playing at a 16th note pattern. That's 16th notes. I can go to here F4, 32nd notes, F5, 54-second notes, and I can do triplets too. I can press F6, select, let's see F6, and I want to select 8th notes. And these are 8th note triplets, or 16 note triplets, or 32nd notes, or 64. That's pretty fast, but you get the idea. We can select our note repeat. So right now, I'm going to note repeat. I'm going to overdub those hi-hats back in, and I want to do it at maybe 16 notes. We'll try 16 notes. I'll press this button right here. I want to go to 16th notes, take off the triplets, and I'm going to press play. I'll press overdub. Note repeats down. And you can see in the software, it's recorded. And in different colors too. I can probably go back in here if I want to and hold some down harder. Now I did that to tell you that and show you that you can actually record the velocities in, as you can see obviously, even with note repeat, depending on how hard you hold that pad down for, or whether you're just going to hit it really hard the first time, or you can just hold it down hard while you're holding note repeat down. But you can obviously see we can change the velocity as we record with no repeat as well. I want to talk about a couple of things here first. I'll press play here on the hardware, and we can control the volume right here next to play start, which you probably already figured out already. I can mute the track. I may want to hear where the metronome's at now. Here, if I had the metronome on, let's say if it was in record and play, just going at it, I would just hear it. And here you see it's on. So if you're not too sure if the metronome's on while listening back to a track, and it could be on like this, and you don't really hear the metronome going on, you can look over here and you'll see the on for the metronome. And you can turn it off by going back to the menu bar. Now I'll press stop here. Now on the hardware, we have a couple of options here. We can also undo, as you know. We can press shift and then it'd be redo. I can press shift down and then press the undo button and it becomes redo what I undid. So I can go to here, I can press shift, undo, and then redo. Or undo, 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 and go back again. Now here we have our locate section right above the transport. That's the transport right here. We have record, overdub, stop, play, and play start. Now here we have step. So here in step, as you can see, as I move it back with this arrow here, and this left arrow moves it backward, the right arrow moves it forward in the timeline. And I'm moving in increments of eighths. So I can go back to timing correction here, and I'm going to go to 16ths now. And I'll use the same step again. Now we're moving in terms of 16th notes. So you see the subdivision between the first beat and the second beat increases by 4, or 8 in this case, from 8th to 16th notes. And this arrow moves in that direction. Now here we also have, this is by bar. So let's say I go back to here, and I'm on the first bar. I can press this locate button. I move to the next bar. Then the next bar, I go to the end and go backwards. I don't loop around. I just go up 1 bar or back 1 bar. Now here's I press locate, and I can locate where I'm at. When I do press locate, I get a window on my display. Let's check that out. I'm going to go here and press the go to button and locate. And now you'll see we got this window right here. And here I can put in several different locators or locate parts I want to go to. And this is really cool when you're working with a pretty big or a long sequence. And here I want to maybe locate a certain area. So I've got to locate there. I can say here, I want to go here to locate. And I can say this is going to be 1, this will be bar 2, that's beat 1. I might want to go to maybe right about here. And I can say go. And once I do, as you can see on the software, it went there. So I can have 5 different locate parts. I want to locate a certain section at, keep them there, press go to, and locate that one part in the sequence. Got this one pattern going on here. I'll play from play start. And that's my pattern. I'll press stop. Now, if I want to overdub a new pattern, or a new part, let's say, a different instrument, a keyboard, a bass line, whatever, I want to go to a new track. So I'm going to go to track number 2 now. And of course, I have a sound already selected just to save time. And now I want to record in that track. Okay, now I want to overdub some new parts into this pattern here. I'm going to get rid of this stuff I have here currently. And I've got my part selected. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to use probably no repeat. And I'll press play. And I'll press overdub. Here we go. Okay, I've got my 2 parts ready to go. And now I want to add a 3rd track. Got a 3rd track selected, and I have a new sound. press overdub. I want to hit it just right. So now I want to try to edit some of this data, but I want to do it with the mouse right here in the software. Let's do that. Now I've recorded some parts in here. Let's play it back. Okay, I've got the parts in. Well, now what I want to do, I want to show you how this edit view works here on the grid. Now this is the grid for drum. And here you can see, of course, as we talked about earlier, this is our grid, and of course, it's our timeline moving by. And I'm moving a cursor here, which is like a little pencil. So I can sort of write a part in. I can go back over here and undo, or press my undo button on the hardware. Now, we have two tools we can use. We can use this draw mode, where I can draw parts in, and also I have this selector mode too, where I can select sections. I can go to here, I'm in selector, and I can say I want to select this area right there. I select it, and those notes are selected. I go like this, and I go from one corner to the next. I can select the section, and you notice here that the notes are not only selected, but also the velocity data here in the modifier section is selected as well. Now this select draw tool here also turns into a hand. See this? I can grab something like that, and I can move it someplace. I can say, like, grab this piece here. Oh, I moved the whole section. See, so I selected the whole section. I moved the section. I'll play it back. I can say I want to move this up to here. And I move the whole section up. So I can move parts around, change what I did, and get a different feel. It's kind of cool to do that. Now, once I've moved a section like this, and I get a different concept from the way it was before, and I've done some editing here, and I'll play it back from the top. I'll press stop, and I'll normally just press shift, and then I'll press the undo button for redo though, since I press shift. Undo, and here we go. I'll play it back now. That's the original. I'll press shift again, and I'm back here. So I'm not too sure what to do. What I normally will do is I'll probably copy this sequence and then keep it as two different versions. But I want to save first. So I'll go to here and I'll go to Save Project. Now, if this is a whole project I have here, I'm going to save the entire project. That means every sequence, every program, every sample will be saved in one big bunch. When I pull it back up, everything's right there where it was at. I can also go Save Project As. I may want to say, you know, I may want to just save this project called Docs Demo, but it's something different. I may want to use it for a commercial or something, for a demonstration for a class or something. I'll save it, and I'll call it Docs Demo for Class Session. Make it easier. Let's cancel that. I can also go here. I can save all programs. I might just want to save the programs. And as I do go to these items, you notice here, I have to find a place where I want to save it at. So I might make a new folder. But the important thing is to remember where you do save your stuff. Now, if you're on a PC, I would suggest saving it to My Documents. And a Mac, I save it on My Documents as well inside my Home folder. So this makes you save it, but know where you're saving your files to. Let's cancel this one out. I'm going to go over here to File again, and then we can also save the current program. Same dialog box comes up, and then we can go to here, and we can select here, Save the Current Sequence. And now I have a sequence box here. I can say, well, I want to save this new sequence, and I want to save it here. So depending on what you want to save. Now in my case, I want to save the entire project, and later on, if I have one song or a part I like in here, I might just take that out and save it as a separate sequence and as a separate program. And that way I'll put them in the same folder, and when they load up, they will load up together. They'll all be in the same folder, as we showed you earlier about the browser. Now we also have this tool here, which is our pencil. Here's our pencil. This is our draw mode. So I can go in here and draw parts in, and I can double click again and the hand comes back out again, as you can see there. Double click and I'm in and out. That little part either stays or goes. I can grab it and take it out. So I can draw parts, and I can also go to a part that's already in here, and then it turns in this cursor where I can extend that part. And this is based on the boundary set up by the timing correction. Like for example, if I pull it out now and set it for an eighth note, I go back here to undo on my hardware, and I'm going to go here to timing correction, and I'll make it 30-second notes. And you see these big subdivisions now really chopped up, and I can go here, and this makes it that one view. So I can't do any more. I just go in a little bit, and you can't do much. See? So I have to go back and undo that. So it's all based on that. And if I go here though, and I go to off, now when I use this pencil tool and I get to the back or the front, I can extend the front or the back anywhere in the grid. So I can do a little bit, extends. Now you can't see much of that right there, so I can also go here and I could zoom in. So let's say I got this note right here. I get my hand out and I hit it. That's what I want to zoom in on. And I go here to the corner, and now I can zoom in on that note. And I'll move this over a little bit here. Now I can zoom in on the note and see it real clearly now. And now when I move my cursor there, I can grab the back end and pull it out as far as I want to pull it out, extend that note. Or I can go to the front and pull this out and extend the note there. Notice as I pull the front out, you will see the velocity, of course, move with it, and its modifiers that belong to that note. At the back end, you won't see that, obviously, because it happens when the strike happens. When you first strike that note, that's where that velocity setting is at. I can pull it in also. So remember, when you're in the grid and you're going to use this draw tool, it's a pencil, it's a cursor at the left and the right to drag the front and the back out. It's a hand tool. And it works pretty good either way. And it's really cool when you get a chance to use it with the correction off. Or if you got it set perfectly and you know you want to correct it to that particular value, you can do it. Just remember what that time correction or quantized value is. So it's important to know how to get around here in the grid view. So I've got this scroll here I can do like this. Get the cursor there, move my scroll back and find the area I want to edit. I can also go here and expand or contract the view. And I can do that also vertically. So I can go up and down. And since I go up, this is A, then we see B, then we see D, all the way up to H. So you can see each bank's potential spot for a sound. And here, I can just sort of expand it or contract that view. It's either vertical or horizontal. Now also, when you're scrolling through a session, let's say for example, I got this song going on, and I got this part here, and I might just want to take this part and maybe just view it and get an idea of where I want to edit some section at. So I can go up here where it says MPC, and right here we have this scroll mode. So if I play it back, so it goes to that one section. When it gets there, it changes to that part. Now here, I can click it again, And now I'm in page mode. Now watch this. Now that's pretty cool, where I can actually just let it scroll along and we watch as it flows along from left to right. Now sometimes you may have a lot of tracks, or just a lot of parts just in that one track. And you want to get rid of this bottom part where you have the sequence view and you've got this project, and you also have the Q-Link. We can go right here and we have half view mode and we have full view mode. So I got the sequence right here. I want to sort of save it, make a copy. So I'm going to go here, and as you can see, we have a sequence number 10. And generally I want to name it. So first thing I want to do is I want to make a copy before anything happens to the data. So I'll go here and I'll press the window button, since there was a cursor there and the window button was available. I want to copy this sequence. So I'll press F4. And now it offers me a destination where I can copy the contents of 10 to the next available open sequence, which is 11. And I can say do it. I'll press do it. And now 11 is the same. What we have right here also, this little piece right here, what separates the grid from the modifiers. Like here we see velocity, right? So I can go to here with my tool, and once I get there, it turns in this little cursor. I can go up and down with it. And as I rise it up, you'll see that we can see more of this velocity range, and we can go in and we can set these really easier. Just much, much easier than before. I'm moving around right now, and we can see it much better. And you can see the ranges for each one as you click on it also as well. And you can pull it back down. So right here we can see tabs for this section. We have automation, velocity here, and a modifier. And you can go right here where automation is at and click here, and you can see real time, and I can apply these real time parameters for track and path. So here I've gone to my real time automation, and I've input RT tuning, as you can see right here, and it's selected. So I can go in here, play the track back. I can change the tuning within the track itself. So we can change the tuning right there within the track with this sample. And I can do the same thing with the drums. I can go maybe to the drum track, and that'll be track number 1 there. I can go to modifier here. I can select tuning again, and I can go right here. Just double click. And select this track right here. Double click. Now a different sound for the hi-hats. Go here maybe. Now I come back again. And so you see I've just sort of changed the tuning of the hi-hat and the little part of that sample, because I went to change it when that sample actually gets a free time to sustain, it hits that very high note. And that's how we can change the tuning of a selected pad right there. So I'll change the track. I'm changing the tuning of, for example, this part was just this one pad. And on track 3, this was the sample as it's laid out across the pads, and it just changed their tuning. So I play this track back. I can actually sort of bring some of these velocities down for the hi-hat if I want to. Now some of them I have here are just in a row. I can just go here with the selector tool, just graze the top of them a little bit, and then I could go up here and pull them up or down to whatever I feel is best. I might just take a few. I don't want them to be all exact, just exact enough. So they're just close to each other. Now we're not going to be the same level. I can do the same thing here too. I can go to here, maybe bring this one down. I might select just a few here for these, and then bring them down together or up. Once I select them, I can bring them down. They're all one B unit. And here I can do one at a time. I can pull some of these really high ones out and leave some on the downbeat, so that way it'll have this accent in the feel of the music. And then play it back. And the beauty of this is you can always see the color change in the instrument. So I can see it's a little red here. I see, I want to bring that down. I can grab this here. Well, that's all red. So even though they're all different levels, I can grab it and bring all of them down. Click here. And play back. And see if it has the same feel. It's not too loud, but it's consistently within the same velocity range. This with any modifier. So if a modifier is chosen here, you can change the range. Like for example, here's the aftertouch. And so it's the aftertouch for that sound, and you can see it here. And it's just within the range of it. You can see it's almost the same where it's been copied, which it has been, but as you can see, it's pretty consistent. Okay, so I'm up here setting up for this lesson. This is all about using the Q-Link. So right here, we've got these 5 knobs right here. It's really cool knobs here on our MPC Studio. And they control the Q-Link. Now this first knob, of course, is our selector. We can select a column. As you can see, there are 4 columns, and we have 4 knobs, so we have 16 different Q-Link knobs we can set. And this can be according to program or effect. Now, here we have the Q-Link. So this is Q-Link 1. The trigger amount can be minimum or maximum. And here is the Q-Link trigger right here on our controller, right below the first Q-Link. Now here in this small section, I can program the parameters that the knobs will attenuate. So here you'll see I can pick a pad, any one of the pads for any one of the banks, as you can see right there. So we can do it over all the banks. And here I'm going to pick pad 1. Actually, I'll pick a pad I'm using. Let's go back here first and play this track back. So I want to work with this pad here, 6. So I'm going to go here to this pad, and we're going to go here to A6. It's pad number 6. And here I want to use Q-Link number 1, we'll say, right? We'll use Q-Link number 1 for pad number 6. Now, normally I probably would prefer to keep it all in the same. So let's do this. Let's go here. And then we're going to use Q-Link number 6. Then we'll say pad number 6 here. I can go back to here and turn that to off. Back to here, Q-Link 6, that's good. This is off. So you can actually change them without having a selector there, as you can see. And Q-Link 6 corresponds to pad number 6. Now here I'm in program mode, so I'm going to affect this program. And here we have the parameter that I'm in effect. I'm going to use tuning for right now. And that's this knob right here, so it means it's this knob here. And I'll play the track. see it's affecting it. And that's because this is actually a sample, so it's playing it a little bit late after the sample stops playing, but we are affecting the tuning of that sample in the program. Now that was using the Q-link with note on information. So when the note goes on, then that'll affect the tuning. That's why you heard it happen somewhat after the sample hit. Now here, we can go to real time. So this means that as I turn the knob, it'll change the tuning. So we're going to try it now with the kick drum, this drum right here, which is pad number 2. So I want to go to Q-link number 2 here. And I select that Q-link. I'm going to go right to the pad. Select the pad for that Q-link. Q-link 2, we got a maximum trigger. And we're going to use tuning. And of course, you know this is tuning right there. And it's going to be real time from the program. Our program is this house kit, so I'll play it back. You can hear it change there. I'll just follow it too. Get the right pitch. Then stop the solo. So it's good to even pitch your drums up along with your keyboards and your bass line. This way they'll be pretty much in sync and have that real familiar sound. And this is how we can tune any sample on any pad using the Q-link. Now it's not just tuning too. We can also go here, we can use the filter cutoff, filter resonance. We can also change the filter envelope amount, so the amount of how much that filter changes. Also, we can do the panning. And this can all be automated as well too. Of course, you can see automation right here. And you'll notice some of the same parameters that are real time. And you'll see them right here as well. Except for aftertouch, you'll see everything else there you see here. I'm going to go back here again to tuning. And we don't see the pad mute, as you can see right there also as well. Here's a different case where we have a effect. And the effect is right here. Let me go back here to track mix. And you'll see here we got track 13. We've got this flange that we're looking with right here. Now I go back here to main, and with that flange right there, as you can see, and I can change parameters. So I can change the width, the wet, the dry. I can select my parameters, say I want to go to here, and I got the effect selected, and here's my delay here. So that's going to be 2. So it's going to be this one here. And you can hear the delay change. And you get a delay right there on top of that little bass line. And so I can change parameters and effects also. Now, a little note regarding the effects and changing them with the Q-link. You got to keep in mind that you have to load an effect before you can activate the parameters. And it's got to be assigned to the Q-link knob, of course, in order to do that. Now, all effects loaded to the pads or to the track, independent from the routing, can be used for parameter assigning. So here we have this one here, which is that flange I showed you earlier. And this is on track number 13. So as I see track 13, we go back here to main. And that's track 13. And here's the drum. I go here to track 13. And this parameter is assigned to there. You can see here we got the plugin, of course, is the bass. And this is the parameter. It's a delayed bass. See that? Delay. So that's part of that. It's assigned to there. And so when I see it here, we see it track 13. Insert. So now I want to go over these menu items here. We have MPC, File, Edit, Click and Metronome we saw before, Timing Correct we saw, and we have Sync, Settings, and Help. Now here in the MPC we have About MPC, of course. We'll see what about the machine. And then of course the workers on the project. And here we'll see check for updates. Now this is important. You never know when an update comes out, so you want to check for it as often as possible. You can do it right here. Check for the update. Once it finds it, you can load it in. And below that, here we have preferences. This is the most important part. Now you can see here as I talk, you can see this little green meter here go up and down. So what's happening here is that I have a microphone and I'm recording this video through my computer, and it's set to this Pro Tools Aggregate I/O. And so that's the input setting here, my input and my output, and it sees that. Now here we also have our sample rate, and we have our audio buffer, and latency. How much latency? How long does it take for the time for me to say something and the time it takes for it to be processed through the computer and into the software and then to be recorded? So this is the audio tab in preferences. Now here you can go from 44.1 to 48 hertz to 88 to 96 hertz, which is very high end. Now the higher the hertz you're going to use, the more sample time it'll take. So it'll take up a lot of space in your hard drive here. Here, less so. So you got to decide which works best for you. In this case, I'm just using 44.1 for demonstration, but normally I would try to use 96 hertz. Now here we have the audio buffer size. Now, this is very important. Now when you're working within this MPC software for your MPC Studio, you may want to have smaller sample sizes. Like here it's 1.5 milliseconds, and we have a lower latency. Let's say we're recording audio, and you want to record a vocalist in or something, or you got a guitar player or a bass player or whatever, keyboard, and you have them plugged in directly analog into your input for receiving audio, like my voice is here, and you want them to play along with the track. Now as they play along with it, or the singer sings along, or the rapper raps along, we want to make sure they can hear themselves back at the same time the music is playing. So the problem here with latency means that the larger the sample size, the more work the computer must do in order to process the audio signal coming in and then let the listener hear it at the same time. So the music's going on, that's already in sync, but has to bring this vocal in or this music part in and play it. So we want to use lower latency settings when we're actually recording in audio-wise into the system. So here, I would go to here. And if I'm going to just do some processing, maybe mix a track, and I'm going to try and mix some sounds up, I'll go here because it's not required so much to have this latency adjustment. Let me show you that actually. So here, I've got a track mixer, and I've got a bunch of stuff going on here. And you can see here, I've got a lot of stuff happening. And so we've got a lot of effects here, and I've got effects in return, and I've got several effects on each track. So what's happening is the computer's processing this. Okay, we've got a reverb here, we have an EQ here, auto pan, we have a resampler, we've got a compressor, flange, chorusing, all this stuff is happening all at once. So it has to process it, and also has to look at these things and say, okay, look, this is, for example, an EQ. I have 16 different knobs here that I can change. I can change the Q, I can change the gain, I can change the high frequency and low frequency. So what happens is require power from the computer processor to get it done. And to do this, it has to use power. So I go back here to preferences, and so I want to use more. I want to use more power, as you can see. So the more I use, the latency increases. If I am doing vocals and doing it. Otherwise, I can use as much power as I want until it just maxes out. So in this case, I want to use maybe 512, or I might even go to 1024. But this way I can use as much power as possible. Okay, wow, that was a lot of talk right there, right? So I want to go over this now and just really show you. I'm going to go here. We're going to go back to the preferences. And of course, you see my audio coming here through my Pro Tools Aggregate I/O. And I'm going to pull it over here so you can get a view of it, right? That's pretty good. And we're going to make sure that let's go really exaggerate. It's going to go up here to about 1,600 samples, okay? That's ridiculous. We got about a 36 millisecond delay there. So I'll press OK here. That's good. Now, to show you this, I'm going to go to Sample Record. Now, here in Sample Record, I haven't gone over this yet with you, but we will. And you'll notice there's this audio signal coming in here, and the threshold levels here, so as I pass through, we're able to sample. But what we want to do is we want to monitor the input. And now you can hear me, and you can hear my voice coming into the software, and the delay between the time I say something and the time the computer plays it back. Now, we'll go here, Preferences, and I'm going to go right here, and we're going to select 64 samples. And now it's real close. It's right on it, so you get the idea. So when you're recording a vocal, and you got somebody in there doing vocals, you want to be right here at 64 samples, which gives us about a 1.5 millisecond latency, which is a very small delay, almost a little flanging-like effect. You can hear it, and you'll hear it in the headset. But this way, when you're playing the music back, they can sing along or rap along with the music, and they feel they're in time with it. Otherwise, if we use these huger buffer size, really big buffer size, you get this delay that sounds really bad. And the purpose is just to have these small sample rates for a buffer size when we are recording vocals or a bass or a guitar. It could be a guitar player plugging in. You want to make sure he's playing that guitar part, that he feels he's in sync with it rather than feeling like it's delayed. And that's it. All right, next I want to go over the other parameters here in the MPC preferences. And here we've got MIDI. So we have MIDI input and output. You know already, I'll pull these up. We've got these MIDI inputs right here, 1 and 2, going out of our MPC. So we can activate them. So it's active MIDI inputs. And we can have MIDI inputs and we have outputs, right? And then here we have the outputs. So it's just MIDI mapping. I can select which one, whether it's going to be MPC public or MPC port 1. Here, the same also for output in port B and output in port A. All right, so next here we've got our plugins. Of course, you saw before earlier, I've got these plugins I can use. And let me turn this off. You'll see it right. Here's a plugin, and here is this bank. I'll turn this on here. And this is this bank thing we got right here, this keyboard. And this comes, of course, with your MPC Studio, and you get these banks you can use, and they have these plugins. I can go along here. That's the bass I've got there, and I can pick a different sound if I want to also as well. But these are plugins, and so these plugins require power and routing. So here, like the plugins right here, we need to know where they are. So we've got a folder selected. You go here, and you select the folder where those plugins are at. As you can see here, it's selected this folder here. So let's close this. And here as well. And you can select, if you have other VST plugins you want to use, you can select them here and then click here to make them active. And we can also go to use audio units. So we can go here and we can use audio units. Now, sometimes you may have changed where the location of these VST plugins are. You may have bought a new VST plugin and you don't see it. Well, we can do here, we can also rescan here in this preference. We can rescan and we can scan new. So we can rescan for stuff we have already, and we can scan for new plugins. After plugins, we have auto load. So a lot of times I want to load up my last project, or it just goes to auto load. So in this case, I'm going to auto up this. I'm going to auto load this project here, which is Docs Demo. And you can also pick a template. Let's say you've got a particular template you want to use. You're doing commercials or you're making up samples for movies or whatever. You want to have a specific way everything's set up. So for example here, you may just want to have this main right here. As you can see, this is a key group. Here's a keyboard right there, right? That's a key group. You may want to have a specific setup here for your track mixer, where the subgroups are going to be, with what's going to be in returns. And so you can save that as a template. And so when you go back to preferences, you save that template and you know where it's saved at. you would go here for auto load, and you say, okay, I want to find it, I'll get the template, pull it up, and that'll be the template it will open up with for auto load. Now below that we have sequencer. This is pretty simple. Here we have instant track mute. We have record mute events, play mute events, record pad aftertouch events, and place events recorded during count-in at start point. So that means if I'm playing it at 1, 2, 3, bam, and it comes in, you might, that first event you're hitting in might not go at the beginning where it's supposed to happen at. So this way, it goes to the first beat, first note, it goes right there. That way there's no delay. It just comes in, and you may hit a little late, but it'll be on time, which I prefer to keep this on. Okay, now next here we have other. And here in other we have the tap tempo. So if I tap the pad twice for tap tempo, the average of those two taps will be my tempo. I can change this also. So you can go right here. We can do 3 taps or 4 taps. So after 3 taps, the software will say, okay, the tempo's 100 BPM. With the 4 taps, it'll do whatever. So the same thing. Now here we have our filter all notes off CC. So I'll keep this off for now. Now, we also have pad threshold. And this deals with our padding. So how hard we hit the pad. The threshold level as to once you cross this point, that hitting of the pad will register. Pad sensitivity. How hard, how soft we hit it registers as a velocity. You can change this too. We have a pad curve, which is A. We have foot switch here. Now about these pad settings, you need to actually play the pads, hit the pads, and get the feel you feel that works best. Now the odd thing about MPCs, not many people actually change these settings because the MPCs are noted for having just really great pads, and the pad levels seem to be really good. Now below that we have foot switches. We have foot switch, we have 1 and 2, and here we can show hardware info also. As you can see here, so we have the hardware type, which is the MPC Studio, and we have the current firmware, and of course the driver version and the serial number of the device. Now this software also works with the MPC Renaissance, so that's why this is here also. And velocity, aftertouch settings here, program change, and vintage mode. So we're going to go to vintage mode, and we can select which is going to be. Now to use vintage mode, you must attach an MPC Renaissance. Be aware of that. It does not work with the MPC Studio. Now I want to go over program edit. This is a little complicated here, right? So I've got a sound, like I hit on my pad. That sound right there. And you can see here in the matrix here, right here down in the bottom, we have sort of a pad configuration for each bank. And as I hit a pad, you can see it shows the current pad. Now, here's the sound. And these are layers. So I can have a sound and I can layer other sounds with it. So for example, this is a kick drum. Let's say I want to use a snare drum with it. Can I hit this? And now you hear them both at the same time. I want to layer something else to it, so I want to layer a hi-hat to it. And now we have 3 sounds. We can have up to 4. I'm going to go with sound. We can actually hear also a clap. And we can hear all 4 sounds at the same time. So we can layer sounds right on top of each other. And we can also change their levels. We can change their tuning. And we can also change their padding. So I'll keep that one there. As you can see, if you go to here, you really can't get out of it. So, but here we can go from none, go anywhere else. You have to go all the way back up, and we can actually put nothing there, of course, as well. Way up there, and just keep going, and we're still going. And it's looking for all the sound, so, but obviously you want to keep the sound right there. I have this one sound here, and that's this kick drum. And you can see I can change the semi-tuning? You hear me change it right there? And I'll pull it down again as I hit the drum, back to 0. I can also fine tune it. So I go to here. So it's smaller increments, not as large as before, but these is just small, just fine tuning the sound, getting the right pitch that I want to have for that sample. I can also change the level. So here, I'll pull this down, and the level's lower, much lower as you can see. And I can pull it back up here. Just click and drag. It gets much louder. We can also change the panning. So I go right and go left. Now here we also have a velocity setting. So I can make different velocity settings. So if I hit this really soft, nothing happens. But I gotta hit it harder. See that? Nothing happens. So watch this. I'm going back up to here. Nothing's happening. So I got on full level, so. I hit hard, it just cuts off. Let me go back here again. Let me go back down to here, right there. Hit harder, it's cutting it off. So I can have a velocity setting for each individual layer. So for example here, I may want to have a different kick drum sound when it's hit real hard and when it's hit real soft. So I can have this extra sound here for a loud sound. I'll take this sound here maybe and keep it there. Watch this. You hear both of the drums. It's kind of really to exaggerate the point I'm trying to make, but I'm going back here a little bit, turn tuning there, and now I'm going to bring the level down because it's pretty loud. We got both of the drums now. I'm going to go here and make this one start where the other one ends. The other one ends at about 52. So it's at 52 itself. So right there. I'm hitting soft, hard, soft, hard. So we're getting two different sounds. We get this first kick drum at a velocity from 0 to 52. And then if I hit it any harder than 52, we get the second kick drum, which is this kick Neo 1. I want to show you how it also looks on the hardware. And here you'll see, as we are here in the software, and I go here to the program edit, you'll see we have under samples, this is our layer section. And as I hit the buttons, you'll notice how it changed in the software. So I go to pan level, and now we're there, that's the pan level right there, which also has the velocity settings. And F4 corresponds to our filters. We have filters, modulation, filters envelope, and our amp envelope also. And 5 is our LFO module. So we have these mode plates we can use here. And then we have effects. We have these 4 different effects we can add for each pad or each sound. Now we have some really great programs as well, some from back in the day, which is this Grand Piano Off Mic. And I open this up here, and this is mostly a bunch of piano samples. And it's a piano program. So here I'll go back into edit. Let's look at this track first. I'm going to go back here to track 1. And you'll see that this is a keyboard group. It's called a key group right here, right? And these are piano sounds. But you'll notice here in the layers that we have different sounds for each layer. And then each layer has a specific range for its velocity. Now the tuning is the same pretty much. We keep it the same because these are all the same note. But what's really changing here is the velocity. Now for example here, if I play the note soft, we're going to hear that note. I play a little harder, and harder. Now you might not hear that, but here is the one setting. Here's the next setting. Here's the next setting. And so these are just the notes. And you can see here, I can just click and make different ranges if I want to make a range for a note or something also as well. And they correspond to the range for what this note will play. So in this case, it's going to play that C note right there. And they're in semitones. So each note is sort of sampled, and then there's a level of how hard that note is hit. And then here we have different ranges for it, as you can see here. And here it says sample, the root is the sample. Now, instead of having the pads, we have a keyboard range you can see right here. And a range of the keys that each one of these samples will play. Now, they're not just mono, they're going to be polys. So we have polys selected here and master. And so when we do that, we're going to have semi, fine, and we have transpose too right here. And we have key group play modes too. We have the velocity you can see right here, and it's one shot, and note on. So this is a note on. So once it's hit, that note is on. It plays. And we can also 32 settings here for the mute group. That means I have a group of notes that will be muted. So either one will play, the other note will play. We also have this key group select. And we have a note range. So that means that this note can play from a range from A sharp 1 to C2. And that's the range of that note. And that range can be set. Well, now I'll explain a little bit about programs. I showed you a drum program and a key group program. I'm going to show you how we do this from right here in the main window. So here in the main window, I've got a new sequence selected, and I've got a track right here. And so I've got this sound. And you can hear it's a Fender Rhodes like little keyboard going on there. And there are several samples. And see, each pad shows you how many samples are on there. This is layers. As you can see right there, the bank we're in. I can see the banks for these pads, right? I click on it. You see the keyboard region here, this range here, appear on the left-hand side of the grid. And of course, it's program here. Let's say we're going to make a new program. We want to make a new keyboard, maybe make a bass up or something. We'll go here, let's say, to pop up if I want to. But first what I do right here, I want to make sure I go to new track. So I can select the new track here to record to. And as I do, I need to make a new program, all right? So you can see that from there. But I can also leave this track on, go here to Program Edit, and I can select New Track from right here in the menu. I go to New Track, and it's right there. Now I want to put a program here, and maybe I want to put a bass, make a new bass, and build a bass line or a bass sound to go with it. So here it says Program, it's an empty one. I can go here to the bottom of my list here, and you see a list of the current programs that are installed into the software. And it says add a program. And when I do, I get this box here. This box prompts me to give it a name. So I can call this bass new. And then I can go here and make it a drum or key group. Make it a key group, I'll press OK. And now we have a key group program. So I'm going to pick a sound now to add to this key group. And I've got some really cool Moog sounds. I always love the Moog. One of my favorite keyboard sounds. Here we go right here. I've got this one Moog sound, and you can see obviously it's over the entire keyboard range. It's like just every key is going to play the sound from the lowest key, which is -C, to the highest key, which is 8G. So all 88 keys are going to play this one sound. So I got the sound. Well, that's pretty deep, pretty low right there. So I can also add another sound. And I'm going to look for another bass to combine with it. Now I'm looking for another bass sound here, and I've got one here. This is the one I'm going to use. Look for something else. I've got two Moog sounds. I'm going to create a new Moog sound. So here I've got both these sounds going on here. We are in a key group, and I've turned the first sound down. That's this sound right here. And then I'll turn this one down a little bit and turn this up. So that's pretty good. It changes when it actually gets larger. And here I got these two sounds together. So what you want to do is you want to sort of pitch them up, get them near the same pitch, of course. That's a pretty deep sound like that. So now I can get that Dr. Dre bass sound. This is a classic way to do it. These are some samples that we have from our Moog set for the MPC, which comes from our MPC samples. But the cool part about this is that I can develop a really cool sound by just changing the pitch. And also I go right here to filters next. And here in the filters, I can sort of like change how this filter affects the sound through the attack, the decay, and then the release. And it's also sustain. So I may want to sustain it a little bit more here if I want to. So you sustain a lot there actually. But I may want to make that release a little bit longer so it just really... We get that nice deep bass sound. So we've got our bass sound. Sounds pretty deep, it's pretty cool. Sometimes you want to adjust it. So here I may want to adjust my levels as to the level of the first layer with the second layer. So here I've got the second layer a little bit behind the first layer. So I like that Moog sound a lot of the first layer. Now here velocity is concerning. I want to have them both play at the same time and at the same velocity so I get that same sound no matter what. Now here we have a filter. And this is kind of clues in the filters. Now for example here, I'll go to a filter and I can change the cutoff of that filter or the resonance or the envelope of the filter. But I need to make a filter choice. I've got to pick a filter I want to use. So I'm going to go with something very drastic for this demonstration. And I'm going to go here. An 8-band. So I'll play it. And here I'm changing it right there, right? So depending on what the filter I pick, I can change the cutoff, the resonance. So it resonates more. Hear that? It's like almost like a reggae bass. I want to get a little more deeper into this filtering of this bass sound. So now I want to go to Modulation Sources. So I can also do the keyboard source right here and change the velocity attack level. And get the envelope to open up a little more like a growling. It's almost growling now, right? And get right there to a sound I like maybe. Now we can always make it sustain more if we want to. Or I'm actually make the release. So it's a longer release right there. And sustaining pretty good there, not too bad. And the decay is just right. Now here we have the LFO. So it's the LFO destination. So that means that once it reaches that point, I can develop how the FLO will act. It's a low frequency oscillation, like a really low oscillating thing. So here I can select whole note, dotted half note, all the way up to 16-note triplets. So it's really diverse here. So I can go here and I've got just a multitude of choices. I also can change the waveform. Now here, for example, here's a rate. And this is that sine, this triangle. I'm not hearing much of that, but watch this. It's the pitch change, right? Right here. Now you hear the waveform here. I'll change this as well to sawtooth. Now go to square. Okay, so here I've got this little beat going on. Now, if you want to do this along with me, it's pretty simple. You go to your MPC drum content, and want to go to drum kits, and I pulled up this thing, this file, which is a program, and it's called Funkadelic. And in here you'll see that file. I'll scroll down here. Yep, there it is right there, Funkadelic. As you can see right there. Let's load it in, and this is it right here, of course. Now, I want to talk about this other project thing here, which is this program mixer. And as I play this track back, you'll see that each program, I guess, has a bank. In this case, this bank here is A, as you can see, up to A16. A1 to A16. And all these pads are in that program. And this is the program mixer. So as you can see here, we have of course, we have the grid here on top and the mixers on bottom. If you don't want the mixer, we can always go over here to our half view mode, or we go to full view mode here and get rid of the mixer. But the mixer's right there, as you can see. And this mixer, let me click right here. We'll go scroll to the end of the mixer, and it goes here to 816. It's a pretty long way around. But as you can see, each one of these pads has its own channel, has a volume control. We've got panning. We can mute it. We can send it to a submix. You can click here. See the ability to go to submix 1 through 8. We can do outputs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in pairs, all the way to 15, 16 in output pairs. In this case, it's using subgroup 1. But I can go right back here and just go to track mix if I want to. But right now it's subgroup 1. So right now, I can also add inserts or not. So I'll go to here. I can put inserts in, and I can add an effect. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add some sort of, something you really hear a lot, a delay. And we'll play this long delay. And you can hear it. So we can add a delay, but just to that one sound that's in pad 01 for that program. And of course, the program you can see right here is Funkadello. And the sequence is number 6, Funkadello. So that sequence is for this program. Now, I can add more than just one effect. So let's say I want to add a flange. And then I want to add a tremolo. And I'll play that back. And you can hear how it pretty much really rocks with the real shaking sound. And to get a little better understanding and to hear it more accurately, I'll turn the other instruments off here and sort of mute these sounds and play this back. See what's happening? The tremolo there is sort of like going back and forth there. It's sort of like, actually it's the flange. So what I normally do though, if you're going to do something, I normally will set up an EQ. And I'll put an EQ on there. There's a parametric. I'll put the parametric there. There's a flange. I'll turn the flange off. I'll go in and I'll set up an EQ first. And then I'll put a compressor after it. And I'll find a nice compressor here. Well, I can finish compressor here like that. And you get the compressor, you put it right there, and you can get the sound going on. And plus, I had an EQ here, and I could EQ, take off some of the highs if I want to, and then I could set that sound up to have the right kind of sound I want to have, and pull it into the track. Now here, I can also, since this is pad 1, and it's number 1 there, and this is the kick drum here, I can also go here to send. And I have sends already set up. I can go to here, pull this up, and now you can hear it. It's like this big bass drum in this reverb. Or pull the sounds in. And you can hear that, how it's in time, and that's a delay. Now that's being done through this track mixer. The track mixer here, I've got the other elements right here. As you can see, we have the return, which is a reverb, medium-sized reverb. Then I've got a return 2, which is a delay, a mono delay, not a stereo one, so it's coming straight at you. And then we have this stereo small. And of course, these outputs for the returns are 100% up. And that's why you can hear that here. So I can actually send the signal and just send the output of the signal here and route it directly to that return. And this is sending it to the return. And pull this down. And you'll see the samples. These light up, you'll know what samples are where. So this is a great way for you to sort of like give that one sound the effect you want to give it overall on top of it. Rather than doing it another way, you can just make this one sound have the effect, and it really can make it work. Now we also have a submix too as well. So I can always send sounds to a submix. Let's say I want to send the drums there. So I might say that goes to submix 1. And I'll say this drum will go to submix 1. And I'll send this hi-hat to submix 1. And we'll do the open hi-hat submix 1. And then we're going to do this clap also to submix 1. Now I'll go back here to the track mixer. And here's subgroup 1 right here. I pull it down and we don't hear anything else. Now watch, I'll go back here to the program mix, and I'll turn the other elements on that it should be on here. And you can see this thing going on here. So the other sounds are playing there, but the sounds that were sent to a subgroup won't play because their audio outputs are being sent to that subgroup. I go back to track mixer, and here, of course, you see it right here. So these outputs are being sent here, so I have to blend them in. So I can get this total subgroup inside the mix. And that's how we can use a lot of these effects and sends and routes within the Program Mixer tab. Before we just finished doing Program Mixer, and you see how we have each one of these tracks, like a mixing board, has each pad has its own little sort of like mixer routing. And when I go here to Track Mixer, we don't see that anymore. We see the track. So now it's the same concept except that each track. So if I have a song that has more than one track, each track I can route in certain sense. So for example, I can look for a sequence. I go back here to my interlude sequence, which I've got right here, and I pull it up, and you'll see it here. Now if I go back here to Program Mix, you'll see it also as well here, see? So we see that we have this, we have that selected program, which is this hard soul. But when we go back here to track mix, we see the different tracks. And these different tracks have, as you can see, different programs. And we can tell that also here from on top. I'll go back here and go back to, let's see, this is mix track. I'll go back to main for a second here. And then I would scroll down to a track. And I turn the tracks, you'll see that each track has sort of like some have a different program on them. Up to 13, and there's 14, 15. I'm using, what's that, like 15 or 16 different tracks there, as you can see. So I'll press shift and go back to track mix. Is our tracks mix view. Now once you get to this point and we set up a program mixer and we're here in track mixer, it can get confusing. And you got to make sure all your sounds are on, and if they're off, they could be off and you won't find out where they are, so why they're off. So for example, let's say you're in the main and you're set to this track here and you did some editing. So okay, I've edited this up and I'm gonna turn this off, and you're editing some stuff. I'll be going here and you're going like, yeah, let me turn this off. Turn that off, turn this off. And what else I gotta do? Maybe turn that off, turn this off here. And say, good, sounds good. And then when you go back here to track mixer, you might find some sounds that don't come in, that are actually turned off through that mixer. So you gotta make sure that you gotta go back here and check your tracks to make sure that these sounds are gonna be on throughout your whole session, because you might end up finding out that some of these sounds are in different tracks, and these programs are the same programs, but they could be off. So always go back and check to make sure that, okay, this track, I'm using this house kit. I'll check my other track. I'm using the same kit here for track 5. Go to track 7. Oh, it's a different kit. House kit 3, so you know that. I go back and look at my sounds over and make sure everything's in the right area. So here in track mix, this is pretty obvious. Each track gets its own effect, send, and routing. Now before we had program, each program did. So we've got a lot of routes. It's a big super highway here where there are signals flowing. We got a reverb, a gate, a compressor, auto pan. We've got resampling. We got flanging. We got sub mixes. So we can also send certain groups of sounds to just separate mixes. Like here, for example, again, we have the sub mix from 1 through 8. Or we can send the different outputs. And the different output thing is pretty cool when it's sending the different outputs. Let's say you're going to send to a different software or do a different external out. And you want to do a live setup for your MPC. And you use some sort of interface. And okay, I want to send these two to 1 and 2, these to 3 and 4. You know, so you know what I'm saying. We're going to send them out like in a sort of a stereo output. Even though, for example, this is just a drum kit. And that's all this is. But it'll come out as stereo. Now here, we also have inserts. So we can turn them on and off here, like we can in the program mixer. And I can add up to 4 inserts. So it's always good too that when you go back here and you're in preferences and we're in this audio section, I like to probably increase your audio buffer size here so you'll have more power. And if you use a lot of plugins, it's always good to have a lot of power. It never hurts. So also, we have a master effects right. This is overall on the entire project. So I can play something here. It'll affect everything. For example, I've got an EQ and I got a compressor. And this is normally standard on the output of a master output fader on a mixing board. Because you want to EQ the overall, mix out, and then compress it so it's nice and tight. And here what I'll do, let's start going here, and just to get an idea to show you that this is the overall output going on here, I'll do a stereo delay. And I press play. So you hear that? There's a mono. Or I can go to this auto wah. Or go to the flange effect. Or auto pan. So I can pan the entire mix from left to right using auto pan or pan sync and time to the music. Or no effect at all. So that's happening in real time. As I select the effect, it just happens in real time as you can hear, which is kind of cool because I have enough power, of course, also, and I'm not really using a very low audio buffer size. Now we also have sends here in track mixer. You'll see here I go to send, and here we have the 4 sends we saw in program mixer too. So we're using, of course, these returns, those 4 returns right there. And you'll notice here we have like a stereo LED right here. So I play a track, you see that happening also as well. While we're in program mix, we don't get that. We just pretty much just end up getting a little light here that shows you that that sound is playing. Now also, we get a stereo and we get a mute. So we got a stereo pan here and we got a mute. And a solo. So here's a solo, and there's a mute. And of course, stereo pan. And that same stereo pan is also here in the program mixer. So stereo pan's right there too, which makes it easy for you to like say, okay, I know what I want. You can see it right there. Go back here to track mixer. So the 2 parts are somewhat similar, except that in track mixer we can do a lot more. And it's actually the summing amp is here, which is this master effects, master output. So everything's here. And it gets routed eventually through this part of the system. There's one more advanced thing I want to talk about here in the track mixer mode. So here, on the immediate right hand side, you'll see something new here, which is this edit mode. And you don't see this here in track mixer. See that? All we see is the track, we see the total number of bars, and then we see the timing correction and then the swing value. When we get the track mixer, we see a couple of new things. That's the snap. So you can snap to, and we see this edit mode here. So if I click right here, we have region, edit, and we have volume and panning. Let's go to panning, and I click here on the track, and let's see what is this rise, and I click right here. You'll see I've got a panning thing. I can go panning. I can see my panning, we're going to pan left to right. And then the percentages are is right. And over this other side be left right here. And to make look a better view of this here, let's see. We want to get this a little stronger view. And you can see more here, where it's going across the center. And if I go to here and play back a little bit, that's going back. So this is like a panning. So I can undo that and take that out. But these are edits that we can do within this area right here, this region here in this grid, where I can do panning, I can do volume, I can do mutes, sends. So I can do it right here. I can click a send and click here, and I get to set up a send for this. And it says here what? Send 1. And as you can see, I'm changing the volume of that send. It's like an automation right within the track mixer. Now we're looking at track view. And you can see the track view, it's almost like a divided grid. We have one grid here where I can see different tracks, right? Different tracks right there, and you can see them. And the various tracks we have going on here. Let's scroll back down, and we have the bass drum here is on top, and you can see what's on that bass drum track. We have hi-hats right here. And here, underneath it here, I've got a track view. So it's like a sequence and a track view. And it can be a difference. So right here, it's a sequence. You'll see here it says the sequence is for house kit. So it's a sequence, and it's the house kit. And then right down here, you'll see it's a track. And this is the hi-hat. So I have the hi-hat. I can go to here. Let's say if I went to this forest delay bass. And you'll see here now, this track view shows me like that key group view. We can see we've got these keyboards here, keys. And I can just press a key there and play the sound. So we can sit up here and sort of like edit both together. Now, of course, we have the same tools. Here I can have a select tool and, of course, a regular pencil tool, as you can see right there. And the same here for the track view. And what I can also do right here, I can lock them together. So right here, I can say, I can link my track and the grid view here. So these two items have that same view. I said, okay, look, this is my track view, this is this view. I want to lock them together. I click that, and now they're locked together as one. They're linked together. Now we also have, of course, the scroll mode here. And we can also just say we'll get rid of that track view and just get our regular view here of all the sequence. Or we can look at this one track view, as you can see. Now I can also change it by just grabbing here. So before, I went here, and I went to track in the upper menu here, right here, and I went to track. But I can do it here also from the sequence view. I can click on a track, let's say sticks, I click on it, and then it appears here in the track view. So it's a way of getting around where, depending on the kind of program selected, my view can change. And so when you're working in this view, just be aware that you have different parameters. But some of the same parameters you saw before when we went to program edit, and then actually we're in the main page, and we can see, like, for example, go back to the main page here, we have some of the same settings here. We have the track, the bars, timing correction, the swing value. And right here, you see in track view, we have the track, total bars, timing correction, swing value. Now we can scroll, of course, the same way. We can zoom in and zoom out, zoom in right there. We can scroll up and down. So it's always good to know how to navigate through these regions within the grid. After getting your program mix, your track mixer going on, you got some idea, and maybe you're going to put a song together. Well, we can always go to song right here. And here, you can see I'm on pad 1, A bank here. You'll see each one of these pads has a sequence, and the length of that sequence is. So you'll see, for example, here in pad 1, we've got 2 bars, the BPM, which is 101.4, and then we've got the beat. So I can click here, and nothing happens, right? So you see nothing happens at all. But if I drag this up in here, it goes into this area here where we can put in parts or sequences for our song. I press play, it plays right there for us to hear. That's pretty easy. Now I can also go ahead and name my song. I'll call it Doc Demo. And enter, and there it is, and that's song 1. I can also convert a song into a sequence. So I might just want to take one song and convert that whole song into a sequence. I can also clear a song. Once I press clear, everything is gone, plus the name is gone. So be aware of that right here in song. If you're going to put something in, make sure you know you're putting in and maybe save it so you don't press clear by accident. But you can also convert that same song into a sequence. Now below that we have step edit. So I can insert a step some spots. Let's say, for example, I put this up here. And I put one here too, like that. And I want to insert a step. So I insert a step, see that? But you'll notice here, this says unused. Nothing's there. I just inserted a step at the end of that sequence. So right there, I inserted a step. I can delete a step, and that step is deleted. So this is the step edit. I can edit every step in here and take them out and move them in what I want to do right there. Now below that we have step, obviously, and it shows you the current step, which is 5 there, see? And so that 5 is the beat. And this one here is blank. And that current step is here. It shows you first bar, last bar, repeat, time signature, BPM, total number of bars. Now I can also go to here from this bank setup where I can have my sequence on a pad. I can take a sequence and throw it here on the side and it goes in. So in here we'll see the bars, we'll see the sequence, the length, the BPM here, and the repeat times. So I can repeat, let's say this top, and repeat this more than once. I want to repeat that maybe twice. I could say, yeah, I want to change the repeats of this and repeat it twice. And if I don't like a particular part, rather than going up here and then moving parts around, which I can do, I can go here and sort of like say, I want to maybe turn this into a part. And I want to put that part there. And I did. And see, it changed here. And you'll also notice now that you can see these little dots and dashes like this, and like a little bit of the sequence, which you can see obviously. And that's the sequence right there. So I can do it from right here within the program, as you can see. I can just do it here, but I can't change the BPMs, and we can't change the repeats here. But we can add our sequences here in this list. And this is the list of sequences that are in the song form. Now you notice here, of course, we have this project information too here in case you wanted to have something to do with that. You can do it, but once you get through, you go back here and you're done. You can always go here and you can listen back, pay from the top, and hear your sequences in order. And if not, you can come in here and change them. Well, here we have next sequence. As you can see, it's somewhat similar to song. You know, you've got this sequence list, except it's just a sequence. We'll see the length of that sequence, and here we can see, well, you can barely see that, somewhat of the tempo, what the BPM is. And because you can scroll up and down here and see every single sequence possibility there, which is about 128. And then here in the middle, same thing with the pads, again, where each pad represents that particular sequence, where the bars on top, the BPM in the middle, and of course the name of the sequence on the bottom. And over here we have modes. So this is the mode we use for performance controls. We want to hear a sequence back, next, or whatever. So for example, I click here and I got a sequence. I just press a space bar. Now you notice once I did that, we get this next bar, sudden, and hold. So this is pretty simple. So once I get an idea, let's say I got that one pattern here, and this is 2 bars. And see, once I click on it, or I press play, I see it's still blinking right here. So A01's blinking. When I press the play start here, A06, this sequence, Funkadelico's playing. And when this ends, the next sequence that'll play will be this one that's blinking. I'll go to here next, and that'll blink. So if I hit that, see, it put it right in there, see? And it put it in. Now watch, I go back here. Went back to song and blanked it out. You saw that? So, be aware, this is setting it up for song. And you'll see it down here, it says copy the song. So once you get ideas together and you like it, you can say, go to copy the song. And if I don't, I may go back to the song, I'll just blink it right out. You can see that pretty quickly. So you can get your order on how you want to use it. So I go right here, for example, and I'm going to press play. I go to the next sequence. Okay, now right here, I go to here, suddenly go there. Next, suddenly. Then I go to next sequence. So you saw that. I actually went from one sequence to the next. I did next bar, we did sudden. So if the sequence is playing, and you say, I want to hear this next one, forget that one, I want to hear this one now. You press sudden. Or if you got a sequence playing, and you want to hear the transition from one sequence to the next sequence, we'll press next bar. And hold is pretty simple. I can just hold that one part there. I like that part. It's playing, you click hold, and you go to hold again. It'll come in again. And you see what happened. It put that same sequence at hold. Do it again. I like that. And see some sort of musical notation here, for example, where we got this repeat signature right here. So actually repeat this one. It's not actually there. It's repeat. You'll notice the other parts have sequence number. Then it has the name of that sequence. While this part here doesn't do that. What happens here when I press hold, and I did that again, it held it in there, so it's saying, I'm going to make a copy of that, so it's going to repeat. And this is a musical notation sign. There's 2 lines down, and this little colon right there, the 2 dots, bam. This means that we're going to repeat the previous sequence. Now, if I like it, I can say copy the song. I can go to a song, give it a name. It has no name yet. I say copy that to song. When I go to song, it'll appear right there. It says new song. I didn't have a name, but I can then name it. So step sequence works in sync with song. Now I want to look at sample record. I go to the sample record tab, click on that, and we're in sample record. Now you can also go here and press shift and then press sample edit near there also. That's how we can do it from our controller. Now once we're in sample control, we have a couple of options here. You can see we have record. We can record left if I can't turn off right. So I can turn off right now. So you can record one at a time or record stereo. And this is the record arm. Meaning they're arming it, our system up. It's getting ready to start recording. And we have input source next. Now input source here is selected as a resample. And what resample means is that it's just going to record what's coming in internally. And you can see that I played that track there. It was being recorded internally into here if I had pressed record. That was the input. So the input is coming from the internal master output of the MPC software. Now here, below the input button here, now I can have this for also, watch this. Testing 1, 2, 3. That's my vocals coming in. So also, when you're dealing with vocals, as we said before, and we will say again because it's so important, if I want to record vocals in, I'm going to bring down my audio buffer size, okay? Once it's right, I press OK. Just to lock out, press OK to make sure that it's going to retain the value we set for our audio buffer size. Now next here we have our sample length, which is important. You want to know how long that sample is. And we can record and stop. So I want to record something, I go here. That's on, and I say record. Record, I'm recording now to stop. And then I just stop the recording. and you stop, and you record, and then you stop that. And that's how it works. Let's go back here, back to input, and we're done. Okay, so I'm here in resample, and I got my record on for left and right. And I can go in here and sample something internally. So I can pull up something to sample here. So, well, let's go. What do we got going here? We got this beat one, so I can go to here. And maybe I want to go to this number 10. And I'll go back to here to sample record. So I'm going to record in sequence number 10. So you still have to go back in and set it up for that sequence. And then I want to probably put the threshold level up if I want to, if I need to. I really don't have to. I'm just doing an internal sample. And then I want to go to record. So I'll go to record. And now it's waiting. So it's not even recording. Now I'm going to press play, start. And now it started recording. Now I'll press stop. That's pretty cool. Now I'll keep it. And it does say new name, assign to pad. I'll press keep. And I stop that by pressing stop here. And this is the sample right here. So I've taken a sample in, I've checked it out, say, okay, that's going to work. I've got some levels here, as you can see here. We are in stereo, there's a left and right to this. See the line going through the middle here. And then this is our sample. And remember, it was called sample 1. So I've got my sample right here. It looks pretty cool. And then what I want to do is I want to go to sample edit. So I'll click on sample edit right here. What you can also do is just go back here, and I go to sample edit by pressing sample edit on the mode section of the controller. And here's a sample right here. And you can see it says sample 1. So here we can do many things, obviously. You can see the pad configuration here. And pads 2 and 3, I can play to end. And it plays to the end. Now, I don't see the whole sample, so of course, as always, we have these controllers here where I can scroll through the waveform right here. And I can also just pull this back and get the full view, or scroll right in and zoom into any part of the waveform I want to. And you also notice we have these 2 green lines with little triangles on the end right there. See this line here? I can pull that in, and this gives me an idea of why I may want to loop something or whatever. I have one here too as well. Now once I grab that and pull it, so what happened? It went red. That's kind of cool. So anyway, I can go back in there and I can say, well look, I want to play from end. See? Or I can play to loop start. Here. Play from loop start. And just goes to the end there. Or play to start. Or play from start. It's kind of fun what you want to play. Or play sample. And these options are on the pad. This is typical MPC style. So it depends on what you're playing. In this case, I'm just playing this loop here. I just want to set up so I can show you how it works. Now, we can chop and we can trim. So here in trim, I have the ability to go up here and, like I said before, move these parts around. So I got the beginning here. And I can play that from the top down. So I can go back here and play my sample. So I'm just putting my mouse here and holding it down and clicking inside the waveform and it's playing back. So I want to loop, let's say. I heard that there. Maybe I want to go this far. Let's grab this here. I want to bring it to here maybe, right? And I'll play it back. And it goes and stops, right? And to play a loop, if I was going to loop it, I would play it from here. And so now we're looping. And you can see that. And so we can also turn this on, of course, and it'll loop. And this is our loop lock. So loop lock is on. Turn loop lock off. Still loops. Be aware of that. So here, once I pull this in, you saw the ending move from where it was at before to right here. So I can get those numbers there and sort of say, well, look, I want to go from here to there. And when I do, I can see it. Now, I'm not too sure if this is exact or not. So what I normally will do is I will try to zoom in. See, just zoom right in. I can see, oh, well, look at this. I'm getting a piece of the next note. So I really don't want that. So I go up here and I want to get close enough right there where I don't want to come in on that note. I just want to make sure it's like this here. Then I'll zoom back out. I say, okay, let me play it again. That's not bad. Then I go to here, I might go do this lock loop again. That sounds good. Go to loop on. Good. So that's one thing there. We're not actually looping there, right? I go to here. And you see the loop is on. So I want to go to here to put that loop back. I'm just going to audition it here. To audition that first hit, I want to audition, see how that sounds. And so the loop start point, you can see, is 0. Now we have this snap to 0. And what happens is that it'll automatically set the snap to 0. Like I showed you before here, when we were in this setting here, we were right, like really close here. And 0 means the point where this sample waveform crosses this axis in the middle. And that would be considered 0. So it's plus or negative, like up and down. And so when it crosses this axis where it would start at. So it's always going to make sure it's going to snap it to 0, which helps you a lot when you got a sample that might not cross the line, but it's going to make sure it does. Okay, no, it's going to go right to where it snaps to 0. This way, for example, here it's like 0 to me because it's so close to that point where it's going to this little line. It's just touching that little line. That's like 0. And that's why I pull this in to make sure that my end point was at a point where it's 0. Not here where the waveform's going up and down. I've taken this sampler, as you can see, and the sample looks pretty good, actually. So what I want to do next, pretty much, is look at this section, this process section, where I can process the waveform. So here I'm going to go to the first available option, that's discard. And what's so cool here is that it gives us this little window here, and we can see a pictogram-like of what's happening. That means I'm going to get rid of the front and the end, whatever I've selected as my area in the middle. And you can see, according to my sample here, I'm only getting rid of the end, really. That's all I really want to do. And I can press do it, and that will do it. So I'll press do it. And now, as you can see, the sample size has changed. I'll play loop by pressing this A13. This is this pad right here. That's pretty good. Works good. So I can play that loop back. And you see the size there. Now, if I don't like that, I can go back up to here. Say, I'm not too sure. I can go to undo. And then it's right back again. You can see it right there coming back on the end there. Because I can scroll over here again. There it is. It's back. The end I cut off is back now. Can't get rid of it, huh? So we go back to here. And we can see the zoom here, right? Again, we see both the gray out area and the area that I want to get rid of, which is just like this dark area in the back of it. Now, we also can silence. Go to silence here. And I can silence a section. I can pick a section I want, and it will silence that section. So here, for example, you see in this pictogram here, we've got this section right here. It'll take it out, throw it out, and the end process is right here. We got the front, we got the back, but that middle grayed out area has been thrown out. It's been silenced. It's gone. Right? That's kind of cool sometimes you're recording a singer. And between the takes, she's singing. And when she stops, she's rustling her hands. Sometimes she goes to these big earrings on one time. You know, what that's on, a little bracelet on or something, or just breathing. You don't want it. So this is kind of cool for that purpose too. Or any background noise in something you've already sampled, and you only want that guitar part, but you don't want this humming thing or this little clicky thing he does with his little pick for the strings. It's kind of cool. Now the next option we have here, we can scroll down to it. Instead of clicking it there, we can go to extract. And here in extract, I can take this section out and make a new sample. Why this is cool is that I can keep my old sample. I may want to keep it, you know, I want to love it for later on. Actually, you may as well keep it and experiment with a new one. Get the part you want, experiment. If it doesn't work out, throw that part out, take the original sample, and work that again. That's how I normally do it. And then we have normalize. So normalize here, this is pretty obvious. You see the diagram here on the left, and you see the one on the right. And so it makes it louder. It normalizes that sample. And next here we have reverse. It can turn it backwards or forwards. That's pretty simple too as well. So let's do a couple of these things now. So now instead of talking, I want to try some of this stuff. I want to go to discard first and get the size I want here, and I'm going to press do it. And I got that size of the sample. Now I'm going to go here and let's go to normalize. I go here to normalize, and now I can normalize this sample. I can get it as loud as possible. I'll press do it. And now it's a little bit louder. See that? Now I press here. So I can do undo here. Then play it again. And I can do a redo if I want. And it's louder. So I like that kind of thing where I got this ability to like take the sample and sort of redo, undo, and get a choice from it. So let's go back in, and that was that. I can extract a piece if I want to and make a brand new sample. So let's say I want a piece I want to get out of here. Let's say I got a piece in here somewhere, and I want to change it up. I would just get the start point here, and then I'd probably grab it or something here and pull it to where I want to get something at. Then I'd probably play it. I'm able to pull this other end here and get it to right about there, we'll say, and then play it. A little noise there, obviously, so you can always zoom in. So watch this, I'm zooming in. Did you notice something there? That I'm zooming in and the software chose to zoom in at the end. Now the reason why we're showing you this is because this lesson is all about knowing which one of these endings, whether the front or back, is red. So the one in the back is red, so I zoom in, it goes there. Now if I touch this one here in the front, and now that's red. Now watch, I'm going to zoom in here, and we're zooming into the front. So it's a clever way to get yourself around here. Once it's red, we're going to drag it here and move it close to where we want the start point is to be. As I said before, it's close to 0 axis here. And what the software will do, it will say, okay, we're going to get the 0 axis for you. I'll scroll right to the front of it here. Good, I can see it a little better now. And then I want to move this close as possible to the very tip right there, where it's close as possible to 0 axis. And then I can zoom back out. I can click on here, and I could zoom in again. Well, look at that. Look how close I am. So now what I want to do is probably move this so I can see it again. Then we want to zoom in, and then we're going to grab this piece here and get to the very front of that. They're like right there. I prefer to zoom in even tighter, so there you go. And now you can really see this waveform. It's like little blocks there, just chopped up, right? So I want to get as close as possible, I feel, to this point. See that where that line's there? And this is almost a line too? 0 axis. That's cool. And this is okay here because what will happen is there's a snap to it. So we have snap on, and it'll just sort of cancel that little piece out in case it gets too loud. But it's not going to get loud because it's not even actually, it's starting to amplify right there. Now I go back here and I'll zoom back out. I got the piece I like. I'll press loop play. Play loop. Now that sounds much smoother than before, right? Now I can take that and extract that. So I can go in here and I'll say, extract. We get this page here, and it makes a new sample with a brand new name. Oh, that's kind of cool. So I'll say, do it, and extract it. And where is it? Well, we want to go to our sample bin here. We're going to the bottom, probably in the bottom of this thing. We got a lot of samples. We got too many samples in there. And here we go. There it is right there at the bottom. Next to the sample we have currently in the sample view. Now let's say I wanted to reverse a sample. I've got this view here. The front we don't want, the back we don't want, we'll say. And we're going to reverse. And I say reverse it. Do it. As you can see, it only reversed the section in the middle. That's why I'm showing this, because I made sure I got a little front and the back here. It didn't reverse outside our boundaries, our little borders at the back and the front. Nope, it only reversed what's in the middle. Now I'll play that. That sounds kind of weird, but cool. And I can reverse it back. Reverse it, and do it again. So I'll play it back then from here. So just reverse it back and forth, but be aware that you may have it like this. It's only going to reverse what you selected for that region, or if the whole region is selected, then it'll reverse that entire region. Now once you get to the beginning, and we've got this line at the beginning and the one at the end. Now remember, this one at the end is red, so if I do zoom in, it's going to zoom on the red one. If I tap this one in the front, and it becomes red on one side, and I zoom in, it's zooming into the front. Zoom right in there, right? Okay, good. Now, we've got this region here, and let's go over these pads for one. Pad number 2, play to end. So it plays from right there, play to end. I wonder if I put this here. Nope, it's going to play right there. How about there? Let's try this. Play to end. Still plays from there. Okay. Play from end. Okay, so I've got my region set up here. I've got the front and the back. I've got the little lines there indicating that I want what's in the middle. And when I select it here, play from end, it plays from the end of the sample. Here, play to loop start. That's obvious, right? Then we've got play from loop start. So it plays there. It goes past my border at the end and plays to the end. Now, I think this is the same thing almost, where I play to start. I play from start. Exactly. And that's just because it's looped, it'll see the loop. And here's simple. Play the loop. Pretty good. And play sample. So play sample and play loop, almost the same thing here. It's playing that sample in the middle. And then here I've got this play all. So obviously it'll play the entire region. And stop. That's kind of cool. Okay, now be aware of this too. I got loop on and I've got this loop lock on. And then this says play loop, right? I can go to here, turn this off, loop, and the loop lock, and go to here. Hey, it still plays, right? Play from loop start. Play. So see, it still works the same. When you're here in settings, you can go to tuning, and I can click and drag up and down and change the tuning. See that? So let's do that actually. And we're going to play it. Right? And we change the tuning. And we go down and do it more. That's kind of cool. I can click in there and let's go up here and we're back to 0. I can click in here also and change the root. Okay? But you cannot go here and click in and change the end and change the loop start and change the sample start. So we can get the beginning, the start, and the loop point, the end point, right here in our Q-Link section. Now the first column here, we have Q1, Q5, Q9, and Q13 we can use for the start. Now 1 will change the start in small increments. 5 will do it in tenths. Start here for hundredths. And here by thousands, we'll move it a lot. So these are greater increments that we can move them by. And the same here for column number 2 here. I'm going to just turn this data wheel here, right here. And then I'm right there, I'm in 14, 10, 6, and 2. And this is for loop start. And then here's tenths again, of course, hundreds and thousands. And here, I'll turn it again, and now we're in loop end by the same amounts. So if you're trying to get the beginning and the end, you can use your hardware just much easier. And of course, we can use this knob to go back and forth from the different Q-Link columns. And I can turn here, and then turn here, of course, and there, and then, of course, go to the next one for the loop and the end using my Q-Link knobs. Now I want to cover pitch shift and time stretch and the differences between the two. Sometimes you got a beat and you want to pitch shift it, or you want to time stretch it. Now pitch shifting I kind of use with vocals. I'm going to change the pitch of a couple of vocals to give it a real background part, you know. And then time stretch, I may take a loop, a drum loop, and time stretch it so it fits the perfect BPM. So here I'll click on this right now. And now I can pitch shift. I've got it set here for 6.3, and it'll pitch shift this region right here, and I'll go do it. Process is pretty fast, and this depends on how fast your computer system is and how much memory you have in there. So here, I'll play it back now from the loop start, right to here. Okay, so that's a little too much. I can undo that and go there. Now, also, when you do that, let's do the redo. You'll notice that here, if I play all the sample, so obviously only that area that was chosen earlier in the middle is the area that will be pitch shift. Now I want to time stretch the sample. So I'll pull time stretch up right here from the process section. And here's the difference. I have an original tempo and I have the new tempo, see? So it's important to know what the original tempo was before you even start doing a time stretch. So I would go back, find the original tempo of that sample, then I'll come back in and give it a new one. Let's do that. So here, I'll just cancel this. And I'm going to go back to main. I'll press the space bar, or I can always do play start on my controller. But I already know what it is. It's 59. You can see it right here in BPMs. It's 58.9 right there, okay? Now, I'll go back to sample edit. I'll select time stretch. Now, I know my original tempo. And I can just go in here and drag, click and drag down, click and drag, and there we go. Up a little bit more, and there I'm 58.5. And so what's my new tempo going to be? I don't know. I want to probably be a little bit faster just to see if it'll do it. So I'll go to maybe, let's go to 90. 90's, I don't want to go too far. 95, just to see if it's going to be cool. So I'll do it, and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that was quick. Look what happened. Took the whole end out here. This is amazing. Let's try this now. Let's look at this and play it back. I want to play it back from anywhere here. Okay, so what happened right there? So it actually played it back, but it moved that region over here, over to that point. But the real section that was used was the section in the middle right there. So when you are doing this time stretch, it's always important to me pretty much to have the one section and not have it split up the way it was there, where I have the beginning and the end sort of boarded off, and in the middle is the area I really want to do it to. So let's undo this. And that's why I kind of do that, so you get to understand how to do that. So I can go to, let's say, double click here, and now I went to my sample section of the project information for doc demo, and I loaded in the sample I had earlier, which is this one right here. Okay, that's my loop too. Let's do that now with this piece. So we're going to go here, we're going to time stretch again. And the settings are still there, which is good. And let's do it. Okay, look, so the whole piece changed. Let's hear it back. That's pretty good. Let's play it in a loop. Okay, the difference is here. The difference is that pitch will change the pitch. Time stretch will stretch it so it keeps the same pitch, but sort of compresses it a little more when you're going to try and make it play faster, and sort of stretches it out a little more and expands it when you're going to play it slower, but it wants to keep the exact same pitch. And that's why we love to do it with the drums, because that way the drums are the same pitch you had them before, they don't change, and you get that consistent sound, but you also can get the right time stretch, or BPM. Now I want to talk about the gain and then the copy. So here I can do this gain change. So click here. Now before we did normalize, and sometimes you don't want to do that. And sometimes you just want to make it louder by a certain amount, but not fully normalized. And you can do that here. So just drag and click right there and get your gain amount. And I will do this sometimes to sample. I'm trying to build samples or make some different samples on a combined kick drums or something. I want to make up some sort of sound for a film or something, or make up some sort of, different sound. I can do it that way right here. And the next choice we have here is copy. So I can go to here. Here's a copy. And I can copy this sample, see, and make a brand new sample. So I can take this sample here and maybe use it for something else and say, well, that's not bad. And have a copy of it so I can play with this one, and later on, if this one gets messed up, I still have a copy. It's kind of cool. And you can also take a sample and go from stereo to mono and pick which side. Now this is really cool actually when you've got these old records from the 60s and like the 50s and a little bit into the 70s, where the engineers were like mixing the drums to the left a little bit, or the guitar left and the guitar right, and the bass here and there, and the mixes, and then you sort of can get this different mix from a record you've got, which is kind of cool actually, and you just figure out how you want to have it, and once you sample it up, you can do some really cool things with it, and that's kind of cool too. And sometimes it's cool to change the bit depth, to reduce it, like take this sample here. I may want to reduce the bit depth down to like 1, 2, 12 there, 16 the most. And I can go down to maybe 12 and reduce its bit depth. Let's see, let's play it back first of all. And now I want to reduce the bit depth. Now this is really cool. I could do it with bass drums, or they get a hip hop feel for some things. It's a hip hop track, so we can probably do something with this. Let's go down further. Let's go to 8-bit and do it. Now play it. You can hear a slight difference there. And I can get that reduced bit depth. I can go back, of course, to undo that. And it's back to normal. And I can do it particularly in bass drums. So I'll put a bass drum in here. And here's a bass drum. I'm hitting there to play it. And I can go back here to bass drum. And I'm going to use a bass drum that's got a feel. I might take this little club bass drum and go back in here and then reduce it a lot, maybe get it like to there and then do it. See? So you can reduce small sounds and add some pretty cool effects to them. If you don't like it, you can always undo, go back to bit depth. Well, that didn't work. Maybe too much of that. Maybe go to 8. Then go to here, do it, and play it. And it sort of gets rid of some of those highs, and you get that nice little bottom and mid-range. Okay, so this is kind of cool here. I got a beat I want to pull in here. Here's my beat. Let's play it back. Okay, first thing I want to do is probably get this beat. I want to normalize it. So I'll go to normalize, and let's beef it up. Do it. There you go. I'll play it back now. Okay, what we want to do in this lesson is we're going to talk about chop. So we've been doing everything else. Let's go to chop now. Now we're in chop. Whoa, look what happened here. The software did a whole bunch of stuff, and we need to explain this. What's going on here is that the MPC software is looking at every single trance. That means every peak and valley in this sample. And it's saying, this is a piece, that's a piece, it's a piece, here's a piece, that's a piece, more pieces everywhere. And this sample is pretty complicated. If I play it from the top, well, matter of fact, let's play it from the top. Now that's pretty fat. And what we want to do in this sample is we may want to use it to put behind a record somewhere, on the mix somewhere. And you want to sort of set it up so it works out perfectly. So here, let me just zoom into a little bit, and we can see. Well, there we go. Now we can see what's going on here. The MPC software says, okay, this is a section. This is a section here. This is section 2. Here's a section also. Whoa. That's a section right there. Here's a section. Here's a section right here. So it has all these sections marked off as areas designated to be chopped. Now if you notice here, we have chop mode selected. And the Q link here is a little bit different than the way it was when we were in trim mode. And you can see here we have our start, of course, the same thing here, starting from Q link 1, 5, 9, and 13. And then 2, 6, 10, and 14 aren't in. And 15 is, but 15 is the end. Of course, we can go to our data wheel, a little wheel right here, and the queuing selector wheel, and we can select that column, or select the next column. Now this last column, we can select slice. So let me sort of zoom out. Let me zoom out a little bit here. There we go, a little bit there, we're zooming out. And this slice right here is selected. Okay, now I can go to this knob here, and you see now I can select slices. I can say that slice I want to see, or I can go to this slice or this next slice, which is kind of cool. And then we have threshold, where we can change the threshold. Now what this threshold indicates is that it's looking at the loudest volume, that threshold level, where it passes a certain level, and then what happens is that the MPC software says, okay, right here is where you want it, according to your setting for the threshold. So threshold is number 12, and that would be this knob right here. And then watch, as I turn here, and I turn it to the left, we have fewer samples. As I go back towards the right, we get more samples. So the threshold level's changing and recognizing more and more peaks and valleys, whether they're smaller. And you can see here now, we have some smaller little sample pieces, as you can see, and it's recognizing them as little samples. So it's sort of fine-tuning what it sees in this one sample. And that's how threshold works. So moving my threshold back to where I like it the best. And now we can see in settings all these numbers, right? So this first number represents that particular sample. So I'll go back here. as I move it and turn this knob, you notice it's picking out each little chop, and each chop start and end point. And the snap 2 zeros there too as well. So I can light that, audition it, and then audition that slice. And it's on the pad. So I can go to pad. That's that slice right there. I can audition that slice. I can, the next slice, then the first slice. So I can audition slices on the pads. Now once I click audition again, we're back to the other setting where we can play the loop from the top, from the full loop, or play the whole thing. And it scrolls through. Now in this case, there's no scroll through button here like you have in the other tabs. But here it's just scroll through no matter what. And I can always zoom back in to get the full sample view and then press play. And it won't scroll. But you notice wherever the red is at, that's the current selected slice. I want to talk about this chop 2. So this threshold you see right here. And then below that we've got regions and we got BPM. And essentially what this is that the threshold is a process that uses an logarithm, which is a mathematical equation that it uses to derive and come up with, well, this region should be this size, and we should have these many regions, and it's based on how loud this particular section is. And so it'll say, okay, great. So if I go down here with these lower numbers, I get fewer and fewer regions. Higher up, I get too many of the chops, right there. So you got to find some sort of mid-ground that works best for you if you're going to try and chop up an entire sample range. And what the minimum does, it's a minimum slice time of allowing how long the length of this slice will be in terms of milliseconds. Now the region process divides the sample into regions of equal length. So let's say I went to here and said forget that. And now, hey, equal length. This is this size. They're all going to be 24 seconds or whatever. And we're going to have 16 regions in total. And they're going to be right there. Or I can go to BPM, and the BPM process is similar to the region process, as you can see. So in BPM, it says, okay, this is the BPM. We figured out that this is a perfect slice for bar. This is one bar right here. And you can see here, it's in bars. And each bar is 4 beats. And so we're going to divide it by 16. So if you play it back, and he said, well, wait, 1, 2, 3. So we're not getting that 4 on there, right? Bet. And again. So you got to sort of adjust to what the real BPMs are. And sort of adjust to get where you want it to be at. So normally, what you'll do is you'll go back in here and you'll grab a slice and move it where you want to move it to, there, wherever you think it's going to be good. And that way you can adjust each slice when using BPM. Now once you got your slice, you can audition them. So for example, I go back here to this threshold. I got a lot of slices. I can go to audition. And now I put some on the pads. But check this out. Check this out. I got here, C, here's D, E, F, G. We end the G there. A lot of samples, right? So it'll take those samples and put them on the pads for you. And we have process as well right here for chop, like we had for trim. We can silence, we can extract, we can normalize, reverse, fade in, fade out, we can pitch shift, and we can gain the change, which is kind of cool. And I can also convert slices. Here, I can convert slices, crop slices, and create a new program, which means there'll be all those pads, and that program have them all cropped up perfectly. I can create events with that program. and it'll go across the number of bars and says, okay, I figured it out. We'll need 2 bars for all the stuff you got here, right? And our choices can be patched phrase. We can do slice samples, and we can assign slices as well.